Yeah, so I thought that it would be good to like do a deep dive on Tophiachu because I have tried making a video on Tophiachu before on the main channel, and I have like a whole document. I have like 100 TikToks all lined up and like the entire storyline lined up as well. Unfortunately though, halfway through recording it, this was a few months ago, halfway through recording it, I just stopped because it was too much for me. Like there was a moment on camera where I just sort of sat there and just pondered for like 5 minutes and went, am I really gonna do this? No, because it was way too fucking sad. I think I got to a point where, like, I had covered the very first, like, her rise to the in the internet, where she was making videos sort of thirsting over hot men online, and she got a lot of shit for being a creep, and I made the very obvious point of if she was, like, a really attractive, blonde-haired, blue-eyed white girl, people would actually probably like her doing these videos, because they think it was cute and shit, but because she's a black woman online, it's just, yeah, people obviously weren't a fan of it all, and it just fucking depressed me, and then later on, the shit kept happening, and then like all the bullying comes into play, and then I didn't get to like the truly heinous things that she has done, if she has done any of that shit, but then I heard about the brother dying and all this stuff, and it was just too much for me. Like, it was just too much. So I figured today we could watch a more concise hour-long, or like, I think Turkey Tom has 2 videos on her. I figured we watch the first one in this video here, and then, I suppose if there's more to learn, then maybe we can watch the second one another day. But yeah, this is it. This is as much as you guys are getting in terms of Tophiachu videos from me, because I just don't have it in me to make one on the main channel. Which I hope you guys can understand and respect. It's just like these Lolcows, sometimes it's just too much for me. So yeah, without further ado, let's just give this video a watch.
What do you get when you combine incompetence, laziness, a hunger for TikTok fame, and a family straight out of a horror comedy? The answer is Tophiachu, a walking train wreck who somehow manages to smell worse than she looks. From stalking online celebrities to
And for the record, I don't feel bad watching Turkey Tom's video because when I was getting cancelled, he made a lot of money watching mine and Lewis's videos, so yeah.
Constantly butting heads with trolls, her existence is a real-life tragic comedy. And the best part, her 24/7 streams allow anyone to tune in and see the chaos unfold. Our story today starts with Tophia Slidell, better known as Tophiachu, who was born on June 6, 1994, to Marie Lucero and Donald Slidell, allegedly. There's a bit of a dispute over that we'll get into later. Very little is known about her early life, although if one were to judge it by pictures alone, it would have appeared normal. Unfortunately, sometimes reality isn't so peachy. Tophia had no verifiable social media presence until around 2011, when she made a Facebook account. She was just like any other teenager, and for the next few years, there wasn't much to report on. But things would get slightly more interesting in 2015 when she started posting to Instagram. Much of her early posts were dedicated to her art skills, which honestly weren't the worst. If only she had stuck with it. Starting in late 2016,
that's not bad at all. How old was she here? Was she 30 years old doing that?
When she started posting to Instagram. Much of her early posts were dedicated to her art skills, which honestly weren't the worst.
Okay, so 30-year-old woman, as far as I'm aware, I can't tell if is that real? Is that her real age? Let me see. Because that is shocking. I wasn't expecting that. Tophiachu age. She's 31 now. So yeah, I guess that makes sense. If that's her current Instagram, maybe these are very old posts, perhaps.
If only she had stuck with it. Starting in late 2016, Tophia started posting videos on Musical.ly. The first few videos were just showing off her art skills, but this then changed to producing the same garbage that everyone else was making on that app.
Just to be clear, guys, I don't care if she does not have an autism diagnosis. I'm seeing some people say this. I don't fucking care. Anyone who knows anything about autism knows that sometimes you don't need a fucking diagnosis to make a confident assertion as to whether or not someone is neurodivergent. One look, 3 seconds of listening to Tophiachu talk, 3 seconds of listening to fucking Nova Online talk about anything, you know immediately that they're neurodivergent to some extent. It's just, it is exceedingly fucking obvious.
To her credit, it seemed to be working, as around the end of 2017.
Obviously, I have to give this fucking caveat every time. That is not an excuse for anything bad that may or may not be exposed about her in this video, but it is something that needs to be it is something that should be understood and bear in mind.
2017, she accrued enough of a following to get over 1,000 live viewers on her stream. But as she tried to grow her audience, she already started to develop the first of her many concerning habits. This one being publicly obsessing over online celebrities. Her first ever target was a Musical.ly influencer and singer named Justin Burke. She'd regularly post memes of him to her Instagram trying to get his attention, but it eventually worked as he started
417 weeks ago. So what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 8 years roughly? Or 7 years maybe? 7 or 8 years. So she must have been like early to mid 20s making these posts here. So again, someone who socially hasn't developed in the ideal manner and is still very much like the mind of someone who's a lot younger than they are or should be acting.
Paying attention to her and even did a duet. Finding some minor success.
People are saying that it's not autism, it's like them not being socialized properly because of the way that their dad treated them. I think it's both. I think it's very possibly and probably both. And when you obviously intertwine those two things, it doesn't lead to a pretty picture pretty much ever.
She began trying to diversify over on YouTube. She really flexed her artistic muscles here, creating a Michael Jackson edit where she took the footage from Michael Jackson's Smooth Criminal music video and played a different song over it. She then made an anime music video of Robin Williams where she stitched together some clips from his movies. This experiment wasn't particularly well received by anyone, and as a result, she decided to give up YouTube entirely, instead going all in on her Musical.ly career. But just because she was trying to grow as an influencer didn't mean she couldn't engage in her favorite hobby, stalking Justin Burke. She regularly watched his live streams and reposted screenshots from them, talking about how much she loved him and hoped to meet him. This persisted for the next few years, even as Musical.ly went under and merged with TikTok. As far as I know, she never got to meet Justin, but hey, at least she got to stream with him. Following the Musical.ly and TikTok merger, Tophia was producing stuff on TikTok under the name Tophiachu.
I don't know if he uses the word stalking there sort of in jest. I'm not sure if I would call that textbook or the legal definition of stalking. I've had people do that to me before. I had one girl in particular like daily post me on her story and say shit like, does anyone know someone who looks like Dan Kijabo? Or it was very creepy. It was very odd. I don't know if that does count as stalking, but maybe it does. Maybe I'm just not, I guess maybe it depends on the country and shit. There's one person currently who makes like 12, you know what? No, I'm not even going to say anything because I do not want them to know that I like, that I know them.
This was mostly the same content she had posted on Musical.ly with the addition of things like singing. And boy, does she have some pipes.
I've been up all night, I've been constipated. Went to the bathroom, now I'm so frustrated. Does anybody know where the pizzas are ate it?
She continued to grow throughout the latter half of 2018, reaching 10,000 followers by
It is creepy. It's very creepy, deranged behavior. I just don't know if it counts as stalking, technically. But whatever, that's semantics.
the end of the year. But growing as an influencer takes a lot of time, and you might be wondering how Tophia, who was 24 at this point, had the time to make TikToks and religiously watch all of Justin Burke's.
Yeah, because I would say, like, if the behavior she is if she is exhibiting towards Justin is stalker behavior, then every fan account ever is also, I feel that can also be at least borderline perceived as stalking behavior. Like if someone makes a fucking, I'm trying to give an example, like a Harry Styles fan account, for example, I'm not sure it would be fair to call that stalking. Like obsessive, maybe, parasocial, maybe, creepy, maybe, unsocial, maybe, but stalking, I don't know. Just not a fair representation of the behavior, in my opinion.
Content. In mid-2018, Tophia gave us an answer. She uploaded a YouTube video titled My Experience with My First Job, wherein she describes this job experience in detail. A year prior, she apparently had worked at Dunkin' Donuts, although in the video itself, she refrained from saying that it was Dunkin' Donuts for fear of being banned.
People only think it's creepy because she's unattractive. That definitely has a part to play in it, for sure.
And from going there. According to her, she passed the initial tests on how to make coffee with 92%, and she learned how to do everything from making sandwiches, how to sterilize, and how to run things correctly. All of the basic stuff you learn to do at a fast food place. She worked there for 6 months, which she describes as absolute hell on earth. She claimed that the machines they were using never worked properly and were constantly being patchworked together instead of replaced. She also claimed there was preferential treatment for some of the staff, as some employees employees were allowed to eat on the job, while Tophia was not. After 6
So regardless of how true or not this is something you will see with a lot of extremely neurodivergent or like people who haven't developed socially in the way that they should have, is that getting jobs and 9-to-5 jobs and regular fast food jobs are exceedingly or excessively difficult for them in comparison with, I guess, neurotypical people. And in a way, that's probably why getting jobs is so important for said people to actually do, because it's a real introduction to the real world where they will not accept you going to work in an unhygienic manner. Like if you haven't showered or you look super greasy or you look like a fucking mess, most workspaces will not allow you to, they won't have it basically. So it's a very good way to teach people how to function as regular individuals, I guess. And also it's a great place to have people around you. And it's just it's like a genuine introduction to the real world where it's like boy to man or girl to woman. It's like that's becoming an adult, is learning how to, is having the universal experience of waking up at a time you don't want to and going to a job that you fucking hate, that you have to do because you need to make money, because you need to barely, it's like struggle, you know what I mean? So this is the sort of thing that separates people who know what the fuck they're talking about and are worth listening to and don't sound like children to people like, I don't know, James Charles, that are completely entitled and have never really worked a real job in their lives, and because of that are emotionally stunted to a point where it's very difficult to take anything that they ever say seriously. However, it is important to acknowledge that, like, her struggling at this Dunkin' Donuts job is extremely unsurprising, because for someone as neurodivergent as she clearly is, for someone who struggles with personal hygiene and I guess cleanliness as she clearly does, a normal job like that, there's a high likelihood that you get sort of ostracized from the rest of the staff members or looked at strangely, maybe like customers even, and those social interactions that are constantly happening might be a little difficult, but it's also very important to have those experiences and work those jobs as someone who's neurodivergent. And I actually give her a lot of credit, if this is true, for working that job for 6 months. It must have helped. Like, there's no way that wouldn't have helped.
months she was fired, and the reasons she cited were nothing short of prophetic.
So the day I got fired, she had said I had hygiene issues.
She glosses over it here pretty quickly, but the commenters sure didn't miss it. She went into a whole spiel about her day, how the management mistreated her, etc., etc., but this slip of the tongue was the only real takeaway that people had. The video became her most viewed at the time, albeit—
It's so funny, the hygiene issues, I didn't even know that that was a thing, and I already brought it up, like, independent of anyone or anything in this video mentioning it. I knew that would be the issue. I fucking knew it. It's glaringly obvious.
not for the reasons she had hoped for. Many people had one
I'll put captions on.
specific takeaway, that she simply refused to do any real work, and as a result, she hoped beyond hope to become an influencer instead, since that's obviously much easier than doing a regular 9-to-5. Amusingly, she tried to argue with people that she totally wasn't fired for her hygiene, but
By the way, that's totally normal as well for neurodivergent people to want to become influencers and stuff, because it's difficult or they hate working regular jobs. It's why, in my opinion, it's very easy to assume that like if there's a YouTuber, or even someone who's trying to be a YouTuber or just has a YouTube channel, then you wouldn't be unreasonable in assuming that by default that they're neurodivergent in one way or another. I always find it funny when YouTubers talk about like their autism diagnosis or their ADHD diagnosis, and it's like, brother, we're YouTubers. We all have fucking either undiagnosed or diagnosed ADHD. Chill the fuck out. You're not special. You're just not. Like a YouTuber with an autism diagnosis is like, it's like a bird with two wings, really.
frankly, it was just kind of humiliating for her to even try. To her credit, there was a time when she put some effort into making content. Not good content, but still. She was posting videos on YouTube, including vlogs and even a weird conspiracy theory about people losing followers after the TikTok and Musical.ly merger. On TikTok, she was also growing more popular, and in late 2020, she released one of her most popular videos up until that point, the first installment of the Mob Boss's Daughter series. She continued to release videos, and as time went on, it only became more and more uninspired. Eventually, she figured out that she could make things much easier for herself with this one simple trick: live streaming. In modern day, Tophia has become—
I don't know why he's inputting his own rude opinion, not good content, no one asked. I hear what you mean, but I also think that acknowledging that it is objectively not very good content is also important because it makes you wonder the type of people who are watching it. So if someone's putting out content that is objectively not very good, then the only people who are watching it are either people who are also similarly undeveloped socially to a point where they find the content entertaining despite its clear deficiencies or flaws, or people who are just watching the content in order to bully them for said content. So yeah. But I do hear what you mean.
Infamous for her daily live streams. While she was continuing to produce TikToks, it was clear that streaming was her main source of income. Of course, the issue with streaming is that you have much less control over what people see, meaning you record everything that happens to you, no matter what. And as it turns out, there was a lot about Tophia that
I agree with you though. Her content isn't it's not particularly unique from many people like her. Like, if this is all that got her popular, then I feel fucking horrific for her, because it's just bullies.
Probably would have been better as a secret. One of the first things people noticed was the things she was saying. She's very unashamed of her use of different derogatory language towards black people, Mexicans, so obviously this was somewhat controversial, but that's not even close to the craziest part.
Call me a like some. Excuse me, not slow, because we're talking about two people, you fart.
Initially, she did her live streams in her bedroom, where
That's what I'm thinking. Is she not black? She's very much black passing if she's not black.
people got a first-hand look at her terrible living
Let me look it up. Yeah, apparently she's black and Hispanic from what I'm seeing. Which, like, yeah, that sounds about right. Her dad was black. Yeah, her dad was black in the child photo. That's right. We can go back. We saw her dad, and her dad was very much dark-skinned, so yeah, I mean, no qualms from me there.
conditions. The entire apartment, but especially her bedroom, was crawling with cockroaches, which she showed complete disregard for. She doesn't even flinch when a cockroach climbs up her water cup. Speaking of her cup, she never washes it, despite the fact that it's absolutely rancid, and she can't even stand to take a whiff of it. The same trend follows for her personal hygiene. She apparently smells so bad that her father had to spray her with Febreze.
Guys, are we being, like, what are we doing here? Oh, that's not her real dad. Okay. Okay, Tom, we get it. No, this is important, though. This is very important. Getting the lack of personal hygiene across so much, because it makes total sense why she got fired from Dunkin' Donuts or Krispy Kreme or whatever the fuck it was. But it's also very important in establishing just how, I guess, mentally unwell or neurodivergent she truly is. And also how it's not even a neurodivergence, to be honest. It's more how the people around her failed to deal with or teach her how to bypass or live with her neurodivergence. Because it's not as though you're a lost fucking cause. Like, you're really not. Like, I know it's a saying, and it sounds cliche when you say it so much, but autism, ADHD, whatever the fuck, it's not an excuse for poor personal hygiene. It's not an excuse for doing horrible things. You're not a lost cause. You can always work your way out of it. And that's why having good people around you, ideally a good family or a good support system around you, are constantly there, who are constantly there sort of helping you. Obviously not going to be perfect, but at least teaching you how to take care of yourself hygiene-wise. Because a lot of like neurotypical people don't understand that when you have a water bottle like this, you have to clean it. You have to fucking clean it constantly, because mold develops very quickly and very easily on bottles like this. And if there's mold on this part of the water bottle and you're drinking it constantly and you're wondering, fuck, why am I so ill all the time? Then a lot of the time there's a very easy to explain cause and effect that you're just completely unaware of. So if anyone does have water bottles like this and isn't aware of that, genuinely, go fucking clean that shit.
Hygiene. She apparently smells so bad that her father had to
I work with plenty of kids who have made tons of progress with occupational therapy in terms of hygiene and stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you have to clean everything at some. Also, change your fucking bed sheets. Change your bed sheets every 2 weeks, ideally 2 weeks, but monthly is fine as well. Change your fucking. You know how dirty, you know how filthy your fucking body is. People always ask me like what my skincare routine is. It's very minimal. My skincare is minimally actual like products and all this shit. It's mainly just drinking a lot of water, changing my bed sheets, washing my face, and staying relatively clean. You have to change your fucking bed sheets. Like the amount of shit on your body that is constantly on your that goes on your bed every night. You have to. You just have to. But look, this is important here because we're hearing what the dad's remedy is for Tophia's uncleanliness, and it explains so much.
Follows for her personal hygiene. She apparently smells so bad that her father had to spray her with Febreze. And ironically, despite being very messy, she doesn't quite have the stomach to keep up with this lifestyle, as she's been...
See, and that's where we get to a point where it's like, how much of this can you truly blame on Tophiachu, who grew up in a household where the dad thinks that the acceptable remedy to your neurodivergent child, who is very socially undeveloped, being horrifically unclean and dirty, is just to spray them with Febreze, as opposed to genuinely trying to teach them how to keep themselves clean or using like proper products or anything.
Vomiting on stream multiple times, although she likes to come across...
The dad is schizophrenic. Okay, fair enough, but I think it's very hypocritical sometimes when people use the dad's schizophrenia as an excuse for his poor parenting, but then don't accept Tophia's autism or neurodivergence as an excuse for her poor hygiene. It's like, yeah, they both are important to understand, and they're both very bad, and they both make life a lot harder, but they're also both... not lost causes, and it is possible and important to work your way out of said illnesses.
Ross is a tough cookie, lobbing slurs like it's a...
Tophia is grown. Well, if Tophia's grown, then what the fuck is her dad?
1950s period drama, she really has the mental fortitude of a wet noodle. She's become legendary for her crash outs where she...
Sorry, I wasn't listening.
She likes to come across as a tough cookie, lobbing slurs like it's a 1950s period drama. She really has the mental fortitude of a wet noodle. She's become legendary for her crash outs where she breaks down crying for some pretty ridiculous things. Case in point, she started bawling her eyes out because her DoorDash order was misplaced. And because she tends to overshare, she also let her viewers listen to her pee. I'll spare you from listening to that, but I'm sure you can imagine how it went. With all of these things combined, Tophiachu started...
Turkey Tom has no right to talk about throwing around slurs, LMAO. I don't think that he's criticizing her for throwing the slurs around. I think it's more so that he's mentioning how her persona of really tough, edgy girl throwing around slurs is in direct contrast with how thin-skinned she actually is. Yo, Karos, drop the topic. Well, just message me. You can just message me personally because we're like buddies now. You don't need to talk to me in live chat if you don't want to. But yeah, for sure.
Get a lot of negative attention, which supercharged her growth.
Also,
today,
that is a big autistic trait as well, is crying at particularly menial things like DoorDash placements being misplaced. Because a lot of the time, there's a very set structure to the plans or topics that you have in your head that if one thing goes out of place, it sort of sends people into overdrive sometimes. It's like what genuine overstimulation looks like. To where it's like, okay, everything is planned out, this is how it's going to go, and if one thing goes wrong, it's like, fuck, well now this is going to go, it's just too much to handle, you know?
she stands at a very respectable 380,000 followers. While it may have been partly fueled by people who genuinely like her, 90% of the people tuning in now are either trolls who find her conduct funny or people who genuinely despise her. But Tophia doesn't seem to totally comprehend this. In fact, she's somewhat of an expert at giving the trolls more ammunition. She wasn't quite aware of just how popular she was getting, and she continued to use her Instagram to get baited by thirst traps. In 2020, she had finally moved on from Justin Burke, but that gave way to a whole new obsession: Asian men.
People are saying that autism presents differently in women. That's true, but it's not really. It's very. The research is fuzzy on that because autism is a lot less likely to be caught, I suppose, for lack of a better word, in women. Because they are better. They tend to be better at masking, but the reason they tend to be better at masking is because usually not assume that they have autism. And also, I think women with autism are treated a lot, like when they display autistic traits, it's treated very differently to how men, to when men do it. So when men are like obsessed with something, a lot of the time it's seen as like an admirable thing. Like they're gonna make it. They're obsessed with this one aspect. It's like great. But if a woman is obsessed with one thing, like extremely, it's like their autistic special interest. A lot of the time, it's seen as like a negative obsession, if that makes sense. And it's sort of they try to sort of beat that out of them, if that makes sense. And then they get really good at masking and hiding their autistic traits, and that leads to a lot less diagnoses. But then I'm sure the tests themselves, maybe they're built for men. I'd recommend, I've got a, you know what? I was going to say I'd recommend a book, but I don't have the book anymore. Unmasking Autism was the name of it. It's a great book on autism. So I'd recommend that if anyone's interested.
Started off being relatively harmless, just making a few posts on Instagram. But this obsession
Have you heard the Tim Sperry situation? That's going to be on the main channel, I think.
soon bled into her content creation. She began making duet videos with prominent Asian influencers all over TikTok. In particular, she developed a crush on an influencer named Wesley Boba. Wesley used to be a TikToker whose bread and butter was posting thirst traps.
Matter of fact, Ashley, get the fuck out of this live chat and go work on the document, man. What are you doing here? You got work to do.
Sophia likes to comment on his videos, and because he had the tendency to reply to everyone, he happened to reply to her comments as well. Had he known how far she'd take things, I'm sure he would have chosen differently. This was all
Happy graduation, sorry.
the prompting she needed to start doing regular duets. This ranged from the cringe roleplay stuff to literally giving the guy a video resume with reasons why he should date her. The ones she gives are her inability to cook, her fatness, which he could use as a pillow, and the fact that she's 5'3.5", which according to her makes her petite.
Final option for being a really, really good girlfriend is I'm 5'3.5", which makes me fun size. And fun size people move over Snickers, move over fun size chocolate, are the best people to have in your life.
This behavior
Is that petite? I'm pretty sure that's like average. Isn't like 5'4" average? So she's like right under average. Average female height. USA. No, average is 5'3.5". Yeah, there's no, I'm reading it right here, 5'3.5". Maybe for like younger people, 5'5" is the average, but yeah, it seems here that 5'3.5" is the average, maybe like worldwide or across all across all ages. She's Hispanic as well. For like a Hispanic woman, that's pretty tall, actually. Well, not pretty tall, but taller than the average, from what I'm aware. I'm 5'8". I like that. I like 5'8". I like my women tall. I fucking love a tall girl. I used to wear like when I went on nights out back in the day. I used to put like perfume on my forehead, on my like top of my head, so that like tall girls would be able to smell. They'd smell me and they think like, oh shit, like there's something about this guy.
behavior of constantly pulling at his pant legs went on for a while, and the videos just kept piling
Am I a short king? No, I'm 5'10", so I'm like bang average.
up. Eventually, Wesley got so creeped out by everything that he left the internet. At least that's what many believe, but it's not totally known if that's really the case. What is the case is that as soon as he left, it really disappointed Tophia, who took to her live stream to complain about it. You see, she genuinely believed that Wesley was interested in her, and years later, she recalled how protective he supposedly was over her. She even implied he may have left the internet because she was getting bullied, and he just loved her so much that he couldn't stand to see it. You might wonder how she could become so obsessed with this random man who quite clearly couldn't give less of a shit about her. The answer is
because she's obviously fucking mentally ill. I'm wondering what Turkey Tom's going to say, but that is the answer. She's obviously just extremely mentally ill and has not been parented right and has been failed. Like every lolcow, she's been failed by everyone around her. Like, the fact that she's on the internet is a fucking crime. It's a crime, dude. She really, like, she should not be on, she should never have had a TikTok account to begin with for anything other than just sharing her art. Like, it's the sort of thing where when you have a kid who is this clearly sick, you have to be monitoring their constant you have to be monitoring their content and internet usage constantly.
Is actually quite sad. Tophia has never had a boyfriend at the age of 30 years old, although that's not exactly how she puts it. During a live stream, she said that she lost her virginity to a pap smear, a procedure done to test for cancer, and she doesn't recall the experience fondly.
When they went to do it, it was so painful that I jumped off of the table. I was laying on my back, but I was jumping and I almost fell off the thing. And then she sent me to the women's clinic, which was right down here.
But just because she's not currently getting any doesn't mean she doesn't want to. And her extremely powerful libido.
I don't actually know what a pap smear is, but that sounds horrific. A procedure to collect cells from the cervix to check for high-risk HPV and abnormal cell changes that could lead to cancer. Okay, I gotcha. That is not how it... Come on, dude. You lost your virginity during a pap smear. Is that real? That's... Okay. I guess I'll take that as I will. Thank you very much, Nahaz, for the membership, dude.
Is something that the TikTok community would become well aware of. On April 4th, 2022, she was live streaming and trying to show something to her viewers on her phone. She was in portrait mode, but just as she flashed the camera, the screen turned horizontal, revealing the other tabs she had open. The most prominent among these was a tab titled Asian Teen Sex, which linked to the hub, specifically the gay hub. This caused a lot of backlash, with people taking it as further proof of her fetishizing Asian men, and even more horrifyingly, teenagers. Tophia clearly took the backlash.
Yeah, that seems to absolutely be the case. There seems to be a real fascination or fetishization for Asians and teenagers, I suppose, which unfortunately is not like uncommon at all. There's so much just casual Asian fetishization not even online, just in real life. Like it's very really fucking uncomfortable when you encounter one in real life as well. Like when you encounter a girl or a boy who's like, and you always, within the first time meeting them, if they're like obsessed with this sort of thing, you'll know. It'll come out one way or another, especially if there's like an Asian in the group. And for some reason, they seem to have diverted a lot more of their attention towards said person.
Personally,
I remember I was the most popular person in that fucking group just because I was seeing someone who was Asian at the time. And like there, you could see their eyes light up, and it was so uncomfortable, dude.
As she started pretending no such thing was ever in her search history, leading to people trying to prove it.
As an Asian, trust me, it's uncomfortably obvious. Yeah, it's obvious for like black people get it as well. It's very obvious when if you're a black person, everyone who's black will understand this as well. Some people just don't vibe with us, which is fine. That is fine. But then some people vibe with us a bit too much, where it's like, okay, there's some negrophilia. This is like I'm being objectified, you know.
And constantly
and then, but the thing is, I'll be real, white guys fetishize black people as well. Like if you're a woman and you've been on a date with like a white guy and you're like in your mid-20s or something, the question, have you ever been with a black guy, is very likely to come up. From what I hear, it's very likely to come up a lot of the time. Because there's almost this like fear that you've been tainted by a big black brolic brute at some point in your life. And I guess maybe in their mind that makes you less attractive. This is absolutely a thing that happens, by the way. Absolutely, dude. They do it with Latina too. I wouldn't know about the Latinas because there's way less Mexican and Latina culture here in the UK. But the have you been with a black guy thing is absolutely true. Especially up here in Scotland where it's like black people aren't as common, I guess.
Posting videos about it. Ironically, this issue probably would have blown over if she hadn't said anything. But by this point, the Streisand effect was in full swing.
Sorry, Danky, but that's not true. Natalia Gomez. All right, Gomez. So I'm assuming you're Hispanic by... What did I say? That's not true. So many Latinos in London. No. Oh, for sure. There's a lot of Latinos in London, but the culture, Latino and Hispanic culture in London is very different from over in the US. There are a lot of Latinos in London, but it's so different. Most obviously because we don't border with a Hispanic country. Also, London is so different from the rest of the UK. So different. Like, you can go to Florida, which is pretty far away from the Mexican border, and there's Mexican shit all around. There's very authentic Mexican food. Whereas in the UK, if you want like a high Latino area, then you've got London, and that's pretty much it.
This video is brought to you by my new old shirt. We've already sold it once. We're selling it again. It's got a cool gothic death metal font. For all of you alternative individuals out there, people who like alternative fashion, alternative stuff, people who like alternative things. The back, once again, says "Leave Me Alone" on it. It's got this cool cyber goth design that you guys are gonna love. You're gonna freaking love it. So be sure to pick it up.
Oh, I didn't realize this was an ad read. I thought this was just like some part of the video. We're gonna skip this if you don't mind. Sorry, Tom.
As all of these
Okay, we'll get to this. Sorry, I do need to go for another wee and refill my water, so sorry about that. I'll be right back. Yes, by the way, if there are any, like, bisexual or gay men, either white or black, in the chat right now, does negrophilia or, like, black fetishization, I guess, manifest itself differently in homosexual relationships, or is it similar to what it's like in the heterosexual ones? That's something I've never thought about before, but I would genuinely like to know. No, negrophilia, not necrophilia. Negrophilia. Do you guys think I'm a fucking beast? Negrophilia with a G.
Relatively meaningless controversies piled up, Tophia's family also started to enter the limelight. Although not as famous as Tophia, they're eccentric figures in their own right, and none more so than the family patriarch, Donald Slidell, known online as Tophiachu. Besides Tophia, who makes money via live streams and has a creator fund, Donald was the only other person with a stable income in the whole household. He's the CEO of Slidell Financial Services, which, as far as I can tell, is a legitimate financial service company. Despite the lofty title, his primary source of income is SSI.
I paid the rent, so you can say my brother paid the rent all you want, but I helped pay the rent. When my brother didn't have a job, who do you think paid the rent? I did help with what I got paid on TikTok. You know what I've done? These people knew that my father was getting disability and was paying the rent. So how was my brother paying the rent? And he's not getting his disability anymore because he went to jail. They cut him off. So who do you think had to take up the rent when my father couldn't pay it? You.
Of the entire family, Donald is perhaps the kookiest. As Tophia was getting popular, he basically saw it as an opportunity to piggyback off her newfound fame. He made his own Twitter, and he started live streaming on TikTok. One of his favorite pastimes was to flirt with the people in chat by blowing kisses.
This is stepdad, right? This is stepdad. Or half-dad? No, stepdad, right? This isn't the brother that we were talking about here. This is stepdad.
And sticking his tongue out at them, to the great displeasure of his wife, who constantly told him to cut it out. But rest assured, this wouldn't be a problem for much longer. During one of his live streams, he made a revelation that would change.
Yeah, see, this is the thing. It's very fucking difficult to, like, not even difficult, it's very easy to understand why Tophiachu got to the point where she is when this is the fucking person who's been raising you your whole life. Like, this is the person who you're meant to trust the most in your life. Danky Discord would be fire. No, it wouldn't. It fucking wouldn't. Like, I used to have a Discord and it was patron only. And that was fine. That was like, okay. But like, I don't think I will make definitely not in the foreseeable future. I'm not a fan of that sort of thing.
The world of science forever.
I'm 58 years old and I am teething right now. I am teething like a baby.
Spoiler alert, they haven't grown back. But his unscientific beliefs aren't even the silliest his opinions can get. He's a man of political aspiration, as he's come up with the perfect way to heal the world of its woes, which basically boils down to how every single major power needs to give him money now.
Every nation in the world must pay me $999, $999, $999, $999, $999, $999, $999, $999, $999, $999 zillion dollars every year. Every year. The first installment, December 2019.
If you think this is impossible, you simply haven't given the idea as much thought as Tophiachu. With his genius intellect, he explained exactly how the world government should deliver this money.
Okay, look. All debt is set at zero. Every country is printing $999 zillion and waiting for my instructions. We're going to utilize the stock market. We're going to utilize commodities.
Okay, he definitely seems like the type of person to clean his daughter by just spraying Febreze on them and not genuinely teaching them how to be hygienic or make themselves presentable. Which is a very fucking important part of parenting, by the way, even for neurotypical kids, teaching your kid to become presentable and take care of themselves. So the fact that he's not even able to do that for someone, or even try to do that with someone like Tophiachu who needs extra help, it's like, yeah, it really isn't a fucking surprise that she ended up the way that she did. This is why it was just too sad for me to cover, because as much as there's a lot of horrible people involved and a lot of horrible things that happen, it's so difficult to hold someone fully accountable for their actions when there's just so much nuance involved and a lot of stuff that we truly have no idea about, either.
Continues listing off every...
I'm happy to see you covering Tophiachu as an avid Smokey MCC and Kiwi Tapes watcher. I don't know who Smokey MCC is, but I was going to watch Kiwi Farm's video. I had some people recommending Kiwi Farm's video on Tophiachu before I clicked on the Turkey Tom one. And my first experience with them, but I did like a litmus test to see if they were worth listening to. So I clicked on their Fibs video and they completely fell for the misinformation about Fibs defending pedophilia. So that was enough for me to like come to the conclusion that they just don't do any fucking research, because it's not a difficult thing to fact check and it's a horrible accusation to thrust upon someone without researching properly.
Every other tradable community, and his solution is basically
Kiwi Tapes, not Kiwi Farms. I said Kiwi Tapes. Kiwi Farms isn't a channel, I don't think. Didn't Turkey do that too? Has Turkey Tom made a video on Fibs?
just give me everything ever and I'll figure it out. As funny as Tophiachu can be sometimes, not all of the stuff he says is wholesome PG fun. In one clip, he went over his opinion on the age of consent.
Anyone 16 and older can visit.
I don't know if Turkey Tom's being ironic when he says as funny as Tophiachu can be sometimes, but there's not even like an iota of me that finds a schizophrenic man having an episode online in front of hundreds of thousands of people potentially to be funny in any way, shape, or form. Like, there's just nothing about this that I find even slightly humorous. I think this is the point when I was making my video where I just thought, like, I can't hack it. Like, I just can't make a video on this. I just can't do it.
Comments like this led people to believe that there was something a bit darker hiding beneath these silly faces and schizo ramblings. As he started making himself known on social media, one of his favorite pastimes became pictures of his own junk, specifically sharing it with other people. When he wasn't doing that, he was spamming out dozens of thirst traps and telling people to sign up for his financial project, or telling people to give him money. He also regularly spoke about his hatred of white people and the government, but it got telling people to give him money. He also regularly
Stupid asses, government, law enforcement, sit your ass down, white dumbass down before I smack the shit out of you all, you ignorant piece of shit. I'm a professional now, I graduate from being Indians, haven't started yet, game strong. It's funny that he actually has like good spelling. It proves that he is like of some kind of sound mind. I want to see how valid the schizophrenia claims are. If he does have schizophrenia and it was known at this point and it's not brought up in this video, I feel like that's kind of irresponsible, but I feel somewhat bad for him. If his wife is neurotypical, she should have stopped him. I agree. It's difficult though, because one person who's neurotypical, to lay all the responsibility on them to sort of shepherd all of the neurodivergent or mentally ill people around them, when it's like a whole family of people who are constantly doing difficult things, I think it's so unfair. And it's very unrealistic to just throw all of that responsibility on one woman, especially when she's already, pregnant and giving birth to people. It's like, usually it's the role of the husband to take care of the wife whilst that's happening. So as much as Tophiachu for sure is mentally unwell, there's also an obligation there, I feel, to work their way through that kind of, that said mental illness, I guess, for the sake of the family. But ultimately, this is a situation where, yeah, they just never should have been on the internet. Does he have enough help or availability to help? This is the thing. This is why I find it so sad, because it's just so difficult to make valid prescriptions on what the issue is or how at fault people are for said issues.
Really,
I've looked up whether or not he has schizophrenia. Nothing immediately comes up, so I'm not sure where you guys are getting this from. But maybe it'll be brought up in this video.
he spoke about his hatred of white people and the government, but it got weirder. You might notice the green crosses in some of his backgrounds. Over time, Tophiachu put these up all over his house, with every visible wall outside of Tophia's bedroom having at least one. These obviously have religious significance, except it's kind of the opposite of what you're thinking. Among other things, he used his Twitter account to share his love of the occult. In this one video, he burned a piece of paper until it resembled the head of Satan, at which point he started recording.
That's him. And Satan has taken over. Golgotha.
Also, Mamachu has chronic illnesses that and has been sick for a long time. She was in no spot to take care of Papachu. I hope you guys can see why I just didn't make a video on this. Because what the fuck could I possibly have added to something like this other than this is all so horrifically fucking sad? Like, if I were to make a video on this, on Tophiachu, it would probably be... I'm almost half tempted to, after this, go to like Bloodspeth's channel or Pooh Boy or Kiwi Tapes or whatever the fuck we were talking about earlier and see how they cover it. Because I guarantee you the way that they talk about this shit would infuriate me. Like, as much as there are little tidbits in here that Turkey Tom is saying that I don't agree with necessarily, I think generally he's being relatively objective and respectful, I suppose, by, there's not like much bias here and there's not much opinion. It's more of just an overview of what is actually happening. But, which is fine. It's a lot more preferable to blatant ableism or just taking the piss and acting like this is a big joke, which I just can't bring myself to do when it comes to videos like these. Even Chaz Kirkman covers it horribly. I wouldn't know. I've not seen any video. This is my first time watching a video on Tophiachu.
Live by the sword, die by the sword.
With videos like this, people started digging much deeper into the lore behind Tophiachu. They found that he had a substantial criminal history going back to 2001. Up to that point, he had been arrested 13 times, with charges ranging from physical assault to soliciting prostitutes, which he did while being already married to Mamachu, by the way.
Yeah, black, lower class, mentally ill, schizophrenic allegedly. None of this is a surprise to me.
On the 25th of November 2022, he was handed his 14th arrest, which was apparently caught on video, although you can't see very much. He was then let out sometime in December, which is when he started posting on Twitter. While all of this was happening, Tophia's other family members came into the spotlight, including her mother, Marie, or Mamachu. Unlike her husband, she seems relatively normal, albeit rather senile. She mostly became known for randomly walking in on Tophia's streams, only to get screamed at by her own daughter.
I have no business.
Hang up the phone! Hang up the phone! Give me the phone!
Oh, he answered that.
Well, just get an answer!
I told you to
Stop it!
Despite the terrible way her daughter treats her, Marie clearly
I think I'm hearing quite a strong Hispanic accent there as well. I'm not sure if they're Mexican, but it definitely seems as though English is their second. Again, I don't know if I'm hearing it wrong. I only heard a sentence or two there, but it definitely seems as though English is a second language for them, which definitely might... It's important to maybe acknowledge it. It definitely might have a part to play in this. I'm not sure if Tophiachu knows Spanish, but I would assume no. So that's just another sort of responsibility of hers on top of like every single fucking thing that she's already having to deal with. Having like this horrible, abusive, like physically abusive, maybe not towards her, but a physically violent, schizophrenic man in her life who's like taking advantage and trying to ride off the coattails of their daughter who is famous for all of the wrong reasons, and then the daughter themselves and stuff. Like, fuck me. It's a lot on her plate, and I do not envy her.
still loves her daughter, as she'll go all over social media to defend Tophia whenever she can. She even got into a habit of going live with her daughter, where she seems blissfully unaware of just how bad Tophia's reputation has gotten. During one of these live streams, Mama Chu accidentally soiled herself, and instead of being a good daughter and turning the stream off to go help her out, Tophia just let it play out for content. After the most recent arrest of Papa Chu in 2022, things quickly started getting complicated for the entire Tophia family. Around this time, she'd started getting into drama with Nova Online, who I recently covered on my channel. But while that was happening, the family also had some much greater concerns. Because of her trolls, Tophia's house was getting regularly raided. In December, sometime after Papa Chu was released from custody, the apartment was raided by a SWAT team, which used tear gas to gas them out before they were temporarily moved to a homeless shelter. This was allegedly after the landlords had received complaints about Papa Chu vandalizing the place with fires and put crosses up everywhere. Sadly, this wasn't the end of their terrible news. For background, because Papa Chu was the only real moneymaker in the family, he was responsible for paying rent. However, around December of 2022, it came out he had stopped paying for the last 3 months, and they owed the landlord $3,000. They didn't have the funds to pay it all at once, so they sought to get a 30-day extension and even applied for COVID relief that would theoretically pay their full debt off.
Your father was in charge of paying the rent then? Everything was coming from his
Yes.
account? Okay, and so you guys were under the suspicion. You're saying that the landlord waited 3 months to tell you guys that you guys were behind on your rent.
Yes.
But before it even got approved, Tophia had the bright idea to spend $400 going to Comic-Con with her brother. Since there was no chance that she could scrounge up the money legitimately, she thought it would be a good idea to make a GoFundMe to help the move, where she asked for
Yeah, so that there is like, that might be the first instance of Tophiachu fucked up and there isn't really an excuse for that. That might be the first point in this video where I'm like, you done fucked up there, you shouldn't have done that, you're a fucking idiot, dude. And then to make a GoFundMe immediately after, it's like, yeah, that's like one of the stupidest things that you possibly could have done in that situation. Obviously probably on her brother as well. I'm not sure how old her brother is. If the brother's like a kid, I guess whatever, but it's on her brother as well. Obviously, she's done bad things before this and like creepy things or whatever, but a lot of that can be attributed or explained by said neurodivergence. But this here, even though it definitely has a part to play, it doesn't make it like, in my mind, it doesn't justify it at all or explain it in a satisfying manner. Like, this is just a very bad decision, a very bad and selfish decision.
$3,000. She ended up raising $485 out of that $3,000, and there was a lot of backlash. Because of that backlash, she was invited on an interview by a creator named Aunt Karen, which made her look even worse. Among a few other topics, they explicitly talked about the eviction situation and her asking for money, and Tophia justified her reckless spending on Comic-Con by saying that the landlord was refusing the money until they could put together the full $300.
Thank you very much, Vanessa, for the membership. The father should have reapplied for disability. You can get it back when you get out of jail. I don't know why he just gave up, although it does cut off at 65 in Canada, but he's apparently 58. Well, again, I don't know all the rules regarding disability or payments or loans in America, so I wouldn't know for sure, but even if that is like an obvious thing to do, the guy is very clearly mentally unwell and also a fucking asshole. Like, instead of trying to help his daughter, who is making a fool out of themselves and being bullied online for a living, isn't even making that much money as a result of it, he just sort of he's just riding off the coattails of it and using it to like further his online career, if you want to call it that.
Whereas they only had $1,000.
The 1,000 before that, I was offering to make a payment, but they wouldn't allow it. They said, no, we have to have the full 3,000 up front.
So, because they wouldn't take her money anyway, she just decided to waste it, figured she was all but guaranteed to get that government relief money. She did not. This whole interview was an exercise in futility. When the topic of her not safe for work search history was brought up, she repeated the claim that the evidence of her doing so had been photoshopped. This was debunked towards the end when one of the Reddit investigators came into the call to prove once and for all that it was real.
Yeah, this is the corn side. There was also another live. I'm waiting for someone to send me that screenshot, but Tophia accidentally showed her activity. Like, you know, if you go down your home screen and you like swipe down. So on her social it showed all her recent activities, like her, like she was.
Part of me is a little bit sympathetic to her pornography activity and her like pornography habits being exposed to so many people and ridiculed and put on blast in front of like actually millions of people. But I guess I understand. I definitely understand why it's alarming to a lot of people as well. Asian teen porn, especially, or porn rather. Fuck me, I can't believe I just said corn. Asian teen porn, especially because Asians are so fetishized, and teenagers especially. It's like, yeah, it is insane. But I also, like, there is a part of me that's also like, fuck, man, I could not imagine being ridiculed for, like, your explicit porn habits in front of millions of people as someone who is as clearly neurodivergent as she is. It must be horrific for her. So I'm not surprised that she's trying to, like, lie her way out of it with the most obvious lie of it's photoshopped. I mean, no one should be looking up Asian teen porn. Yeah, I mean, I guess unless you're a fucking teen.
On Among Us for like 15 minutes and stuff like that. On the top corner, there was a little X video show her being on it for 23 minutes.
Throughout the stream, Tophia kept trying to make people feel sorry for her. In the end, Karen concluded that
even if you're a teen, it's not like you should be watching it. I don't think anyone should be watching. I don't think anyone should be watching porn, period. From what I understand, there's quite limited evidence towards moderate pornography usage being, like, inherently or particularly negative, but from what I'm aware, well, not even from what I'm aware, it does seem pretty, that still is CSAM. No, it's not CSAM. Let's not go that far. But it does feel pretty concrete that pornography is a net bad for society, for people, for consumers. It does seem as though it is a net bad mentally, for sure.
Tophia probably deserved everything that was coming to her, saying no one in their right mind should be sending her money for anything. This really upset Tophia, who muted herself and started crying, shutting down any further attempts at conversation.
Since this is kind of what I was expecting in terms of reaction from them.
She had officially fumbled her redemption arc. The obvious next course.
The creation of porn actually saw a reduction in assault rape. True, but you have to be very careful when you cite statistics like that, because as time goes on, and as time has gone on in the last few decades, or society expands and becomes better and more progressive, rapes and sexual assault goes down because policing gets better, evidence is easier to consume, and as time has gone on, pornography has also become more and more popular. So as rapes and sexual assault stats go down and or cases go down, it's difficult to prescribe the reduction of sexual assault to pornography, or other things basically that it could easily be attributed to. So it's a classic case of correlation versus causation. I do think that pornography does have a part to play in it, though. There is very consistent findings in rape and sexual assault dramatically decreasing in countries where sex work, as in prostitution, is more normalized and more legal, for example. There is very consistent findings and very consistent research that rape and sexual assault goes down in areas like that. But with pornography, the research is a lot more hazy and difficult to study, for a myriad of different reasons. But I'm sure I'll talk about this if I ever make a video essay on sex work as a whole, because it is very fucking interesting. No one should watch it as a teen. I don't think anyone should watch it. I don't think anyone should be watching pornography. It's like, if you want to watch it and it's like a thing that you do in your life, that's whatever, I guess, but I'll never say that you should be watching it. Pornography, 100,000% increases misogynistic views, though. Yeah, that seems to be pretty great evidence for excessive pornography usage in men, particularly, correlates massively, or causes. Well, it does correlate massively with domestic violence, domestic abuse, and misogynistic actions / words as well. But when it comes to moderate porn usage, or like healthy pornography usage, quote unquote, I'm not sure that you can make quite as definitive or convicted a statement there, as confident as a statement there. You can, and I think it's reasonable to say that any type of pornography usage does bolster misogyny. I think that's like a fine opinion to have. It's not one that I necessarily disagree with, but I'd be careful about saying so confidently that any amount of porn increases misogyny in the majority of people.
Course of action was to get into even more drama. In early February, she got into a spat with a creator named...
Just to be absolutely clear, by the way, I am not someone who... I mean, you can choose to believe me. Every time I say this, it's like I get a lot of comments calling me performative or chatting shit, basically. But I have I've never consumed porn recreationally. It's just not something that I have ever really been interested in.
Named Leslie Clark, and the two beefed it out on TikTok Live. Tophia was also joined by Chris Dahl, an OnlyFans model who ran defense for her. This entire argument is frankly ridiculous. The two sides accuse each other of things they're
It also blurs the line of consent when certain types of porn / sleep, etc. That's not blurring the lines. That's just rape. You can't have sex with someone when they're asleep, dude.
both just as guilty of as the other. Tophia, for example, flames Leslie for saying that black people smell, even though one of the things that she's most hated for is being racist against black people. Leslie flames Tophia for her search history when she herself is guilty of sending a 15-year-old nude photos of herself. Leslie then brings in this guy called Isaac, who's basically a community orbiter from this side of the internet, being heavily involved in the creation of the Chu Wiki, which was a fandom page that aimed to document Tophiachu and all of her shenanigans.
What about Book Talk and their smart? That's also a very interesting thing to say. I'm going to go back here because I sort of zoned out for the last 10 seconds. But when it comes to Book Talk and written pornography, which a lot more women engage with, I don't think it is much better than regular porn, to be honest with you. Like if a man told you that they watched hentai, for example, which is simulated porn, so there's not really any real people being exploited or whatever the fuck, maybe animators or something. Smut is vastly different. But I would equate smut and written pornography to something like hentai or animated pornography. Because they're both simulations of pornography without any like real people or like actual things that are being watched. So maybe like AI porn, for example, when it comes to smut and stuff. So yeah, that's my. Admittedly, I've not thought about that as much. That's more of like a half-baked thought that I think I need to think about more. But when people say, "Oh, I don't watch porn, I only read smut," which is like a totally moral version of it, it's like, that's fine. If you want to read smut, that's fine. I'm not going to judge you for it. But I'd be careful about saying that it's like a far better alternative to real pornography.
Community orbiter from this side of the internet, being heavily involved in the creation of the Chu Wiki, which was a fandom page that aimed to document Tophiachu and all of her shenanigans. There's really very little to say about this whole thing though. It all really boils down to Tophia trying to make herself look better by throwing other content creators under the bus while actively avoiding talking about her own misdeeds. When someone highlights something bad she did, she goes, "But what about this thing?" and thinks that just solves the issue. So went another failed attempt to rehabilitate her image. And with the family's habitual inability to save, their landlord had no option. On February 25th, they kicked them out of the apartment, and the family then moved to a motel where they stayed for over a year. Despite the massive blow to her ego, Tophia still wasn't quite done humiliating herself. She refused to get an actual job, banking on her dream of becoming a true viral success. In another attempt to save face, she went on another TikTok live with Karen, which went even worse than the last one, as multiple guests ganged up on her to talk smack about her. In fairness, Karen was actually pretty impartial. She even defended Tophia when some people tried to imply she was some kind of creep, while the others in the call tried to prove it was somehow actual CP.
Asian teen corn. Let's talk about that real quick. It's very misleading because teen corn, as you guys know, if anybody has watched corn, you know that there's a category that says 18 and it says teen. So is that really anything lower that you guys can prove, or are we just saying that because it says teen corn?
I wouldn't say I'm familiar with Aunt Karen, but I have heard of them and I've seen them make videos before, and I'm not necessarily a huge fan.
So
based on what I've seen,
it could be 19.
It wasn't, by the way, or at least there's no proof that it was. The fact these people spent so long talking about it is kind of ridiculous though, with the point still standing that none of this would have even happened if Tophia wasn't pretending that it was a Photoshop job. The livestream didn't add much lore, but it did include one interesting admission. In her endless quest to sit on her ass and do nothing, Tophia had tried to get a virtual babysitting job.
I hate people having to censor talking about such serious topics. I don't think people do have to censor, especially on YouTube. I think it's just complete bollocks. I don't think there is any need to censor. I hear a lot of people say TikTok will take you down, YouTube will take you down. I think that's bullshit. I've never censored before ever in my career, and I'm doing just fine. I think it's complete bollocks. I don't know how people do it. It completely dismisses, or it's impossible for me to take you seriously. I just can't fucking take you seriously when I hear anyone talk about corn or grape or schmuicide or whatever the fuck people talk, or self-unalive. It's like, go fuck yourself, dude. We're adults. Use the proper language. or just blur it out. Say the actual word and blur it out if you want to, or just like cut the word out. But don't use different like alternative words. It's fucking ridiculous, dude.
Didn't even know this was a real.
Maybe it's because of monetization. I'm gonna, in the least dickish way possible, I make plenty. I make an amount of money that I'm extremely happy with. The occasional video gets demonetized, but like when I'm talking about the fucking Rape Academy on my main channel and that gets demonetized, I'm not about to fucking have a conniption about like, oh, why doesn't YouTube want to put ads on this video about people wanting to like rape their wives and drugging their wives and shit? I watch it and I go, you know what? Fair enough. I kind of understand why people don't want to put ads on this. That's fine. But I'm not about to use stupid words to try and like minimize the seriousness of this situation because I want to make money off of it so bad.
Thing, and I don't even know if it's legal, but one of the guests
especially because it's likely not to even fucking work. Like YouTube knows what the fuck you're doing when you use like alternatives like corn or whatever. I struggle to believe that an algorithm as clever as YouTube or TikTok doesn't know what the fuck you're doing.
To question why she is a virtual babysitter, basically trying to use it to prove that she's some kind of groomer, but the entire thing just comes across as comical after a while and really doesn't lead to any great conclusions. At this point, she just stopped trying to convince people to like her. In fact, she sort of just stopped trying in general. She started using a green screen effect, which is why she has the exact same background regardless of whether she's in her room or filming outside. This meant that she wouldn't have to worry about how messy her house actually was. For a while, there really wasn't much to report. She was threatened with a lawsuit by Nova Online as they were still in the middle of their shit-flinging contest, but really, things were going okay for her, at least if you ignore the fact that she was flat out broke. But it would all get ruined on June 11th when her TikTok was suddenly banned. In a panic, Tophia went on a warpath on Instagram. She threatened to expose every single one of her trolls and then threatened them with lawsuits. She then further swore revenge on her mom's livestream, promising she would come back. And she was right, as her account was reinstated within the next few days. But as far as I know, that was really the end of this whole saga. So much for revenge. I'm sure at this point, you can't help but think there's something wrong with this woman. Around this...
Okay. I'm really sorry, guys, but I actually do need to... I know this is short notice, but I actually do need to go. So we'll finish this video another time, if that's okay with you guys. So, yeah. Thanks for joining the stream. It was fun while it lasted, I guess, but we will finish this another time. And it won't be on Shepherd Boy till you've watched the whole thing, and I'll stitch the two lives together. But yeah, I gotta go. Thank you all very much for joining, and I'll catch you all later. Goodbye. Let's keep going.
In her room or filming outside. This meant that she wouldn't have to worry about how messy her house actually was. For a while, there really wasn't much to report. She was threatened with a lawsuit by Nova Online as they were still in the middle of their shit-flinging contest, but really, things were going okay for her, at least if you ignore the fact that she was flat out broke. But it would all get ruined on June 11th when her TikTok was suddenly banned. In a panic, Tophia went on a warpath on Instagram. She threatened to expose every single one of her trolls and then threatened them with lawsuit.
I'm gonna fight. The war isn't over. You'll have harassed me for the last time. It's almost over for some of your TikTok. Your days are numbered. I'm going global. This is a fight I know I'll win. Have your laugh now. You won't be laughing soon. Okay.
She then further swore revenge on her mom's livestream, promising she would come back. And she was right, as her account was reinstated within the next few days. But as far as I know, that was really the end of this whole saga. So much for revenge. I'm sure at this point, you can't help but...
Hey, Danky, how do you find and choose mods? To be honest, just vibes, mate. Vibes.
Think there's something wrong with this woman. Around this time, she told people on her live stream that she had a developmental disability, which made it hard for her to learn things. But it's not exactly known if or what she has. Things remained relatively quiet for a couple of months until she made a bit of an oopsie. Since she doesn't understand the concept of being a public figure, she started following...
She doesn't have a 4-head, she has a 2-head. I am going to put you in timeout for 24 hours. Maybe think twice before being a fucking arsehole when you're not invited to.
An account on Instagram that posted gay hentai. She also followed a page that was nothing but pictures of Asian men and boys, and casually liked dozens of photos. I'm pretty sure all of these people are adults in fairness, but I'm not entirely sure. While some people on Reddit were outraged, this incident went under the radar as other developments took precedent. Because in August, the Chew Crew Discord board trademarked the name Tophia. Panicked, she came to TikTok, saying that she would likely abandon her main channel unless there was enough of a backing behind her to sue the trolls and get her name back. It's not clear whether anyone actually donated, but the lawsuit was never mentioned again, and a month later, she bought a new iPhone 13.
Of course, the lawsuit was never mentioned again because there's no fucking lawsuit. Nova Online's he's not suing anyone. He couldn't sue a fucking watermelon and win. Nova Online isn't suing Dick, and neither is Tophiachu, and neither is Discord towards Tophiachu. This was all meaningless bollocks.
Keep in mind, at this point, she was stuck in a motel and her family could not pay rent. And I guess in the end, she didn't need the lawyers that bad, as she's still active on her main channel to this day. The rest of the family, meanwhile, was up to their own shenanigans, with Tophiachu getting arrested on the 28th of April, then getting arrested again in September for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, and then again in November for aggravated robbery. But
this is why it's very difficult to blame the mum, by the way. For like any of this going on. Obviously, there's a level of responsibility, I suppose, for not monitoring their daughter correctly. But when your fucking husband is doing all of this and constantly getting arrested for fucking assault, there's only really so much you can do. Same for Tophiachu, by the way. Like, there's only so much that you have a prayer of doing or becoming when your dad is this.
Interestingly, he wasn't the only one facing some legal trouble. Enter Brother Chu, real name Donald Jr. At first glance, you may think that he's the most normal out of the Slidell family, but he's nonetheless just as much of a lunatic as everyone else. Unlike his parents and sibling, he doesn't have much social media presence, and he's only really been known for occasionally appearing on Tophia's streams, often half naked. One of his more notable appearances was when he threatened to trace trolls' IP addresses and give them a violent end.
So if you want to continue talking your shit, run your mouth, everybody. Go ahead. Don't think I'm going to find out where you live. Don't think I'm not going to find out.
Still, despite having some anger issues, clearly, he mostly kept himself out of trouble, but all of that was about to change. First, a little background. So, sometime in 2022, Brother Chu and his girlfriend, Angie, broke up, and it wasn't a very clean separation. The two parties became incredibly hostile, although most of that was kept under wraps. Then, in January 2023, Angie started live streaming on TikTok, where she exposed several personal DMs showing just how dysfunctional things had gotten. In one of the DMs, he all but admitted to being verbally abusive, though he didn't respond when she asked him about
I've been verbally abusive, a bitch, and do some fucked up shit, but I did more than any of these assholes. Anyways, I'm gonna go because it's not helping the situation. Have fun wherever you
when he had supposedly shoved her to the ground. In another, they talked about how he'd apparently faked a suicide attempt, although he denied that. As Angie was streaming, Brother Chu was in the chat repeatedly trying to dox her current address, and even Mama Chu showed up to talk about what was happening. At some point after this, Angie came in while live streaming as she tried to get back some of the stuff she'd left at the house, including her dog. This was likely sometime before the family had been evicted. Brother Chu responded by saying he had thrown all of her stuff in the trash already, but she didn't.
I feel bad for Tophia and her brother. They were kind of doomed from the start. Yeah, absolutely. There's like, it's almost impossible for these two people to have grown up in a family like that, in a place like this, getting evicted multiple times, their family getting fucking arrested all the time, and end up normal functioning members of society, especially with all the illnesses that they have.
Really get much out of it, not even being able to get her dog. In the same stream, she also alleged that he had a pocket knife that he was going to use on his neighbor.
It's tough though, because as much as like you feel sorry for these people, Brother Chu is like showing himself to be a fucking arsehole of a partner as well. So I also feel bad for Angie, but at the same time, I don't know much about this Angie lady either, and it's like she's going live on TikTok and detailing the relationship with this bloke, and I don't know how like... We're just, I don't know. This video is not really a deep dive into their relationship, which is good. But, yeah. It's just loads of dysfunctional people. It's like everyone involved in this situation is completely and utterly dysfunctional.
He has a knife right now, guys. He has a pocket knife he was going to use on his neighbor.
For a while after this, there was radio silence on the whole thing. The two of them were filing restraining orders against each other, although they kept getting violated. Mutually, I might add. You can't stop love. But then, sometime in November, Angie came to TikTok again, accusing Brother Chu of being abusive. She went full scorched earth against the entire Slidell family, accusing Tophia of, among other things, supposedly pleasing herself in front of her own mother and all kinds of other weird, degenerate shit. Now, obviously, Tophia took this quite personally, as did Mama Chu. When the news about her brother initially dropped, she denied it wholesale. Well, kind of. They admitted that there was violence going on, but that it was mutual.
He may have hit Angie like he said he did, but he said she hit him too.
I don't want to have it. Don't.
Don't discuss that.
She hit him too, she said.
Don't discuss anything that has to do with that.
This launched into a massive back and forth that frankly is
Yeah, this is fucking unhinged. So even the mum is like, as much as I feel bad for these people, the mum certainly isn't helping herself either. Like, you're a mother. What are you doing detailing your son's interpersonal dynamics with, like, random women that he's dating on live, on TikTok, in front of all these people? No one involved in this situation is good or mentally well or sane or neurotypical or knows what the fuck to do in situations like these. Every single person here, I feel so sorry for, and also a lot of some disdain towards.
kind of difficult to follow. The Slidell family was accused of refusing to return Angie's car, and Tophia herself went as far as to dox Angie for all the trouble she had supposedly caused them. Now, the car
they can't control their circumstances, but they can control their responses. They aren't controlling very well at all. Well, sometimes they can control their responses, but sometimes if you have schizophrenia, like the dad allegedly has, then you can't control your responses. It's like when people, it's like if you have BPD and you have like an episode, then it's sort of a cop-out to say you can control your responses, you've got no excuse, because it's like, well, what's the point of the diagnosis then? What's the point of going to therapy and getting the diagnosis for BPD if you're just treated the exact same way and it's not taken into consideration at all? BPD episodes are triggered. Yeah, but like, still, if someone, well, that makes it even more like annoying then. If you trigger someone's BPD episode and then tell them, oh, you should be able to control your response, then it's like, well, go fuck yourself then. BPD is not the same, Danky. I'm not saying BPD is the same as these illnesses. I'm just saying that the statement, you can control your responses is way too general of a claim.
May or may not be true, as Brother Chu had the car since at least September, and Angie hadn't reported it stolen or anything like that. More notably, Brother Chu had no issue putting it up for sale, which would seem unwise if the vehicle was truly stolen. Then again, no one in this family has shown themselves to be particularly forward-thinking, so who knows. In retaliation, Angie started live streaming regularly to spread the message of how terrible this family really is.
Telling somebody with BPD that they can control their episodes if they're in the middle of one is like telling someone with Tourette's that they can control their tics. You wouldn't say mental health is, you wouldn't say like, oh, mental health is never an excuse for anything to someone with Tourette's who like yells a racial slur. It's like, no, having Tourette's is literally an excuse for saying racial slurs.
She threatened to sue the Slidells over the car situation, and she ragged on Tophia for her awful hygiene, recalling a story when Angie's dad came to pick up Tophia and Marie while they were all walking somewhere. As soon as Tophia left the car, her dad was hit by a foul smell. This supposed smell is a big part of the lore. For example, in another video, Angie gave a very vivid image of Tophia's body odor.
Tophia smells like BO and piss.
The flinging would go on, leading to Brother Chu leaking Angie's sex tape, which he saw.
Oh, Jesus Christ, dude. So what, Brother Chu, like, committed revenge porn? Is that what I'm hearing right now? And this is where I also need to make it clear that, like, even though there's certain things that you can't control, this isn't a fucking excuse for that kind of behavior. And I'm also not making the claim that if you have some sort of mental illness, it's some sort of, like, apocalyptic fucking situation where you will never be able to redeem yourself or never be able to take control of your life. But I'm just saying that we need to take people's mental health into account if they have certain disorders when detailing or prescribing a certain moral value to their actions.
Cheating. While I couldn't find it myself, the claim was that she appeared to be getting assaulted, but Tophia didn't see it that way. When she saw it, she claimed that Angie was clearly enjoying herself, meaning that all this video was proof of cheating. During the same stream, she accused Angie of being a very different person from how she had presented herself, claiming that she had threatened to harm herself whenever Brother Chu tried to leave her, which supposedly led to Brother Chu getting a restraining order. It seems Angie was in the chat at the same time, saying things that were upsetting Tophia, who then told Angie she needs to get off the internet. This battle didn't end there, as Tophia followed it up by leaking some very private medical history, including the fact that Angie had supposedly had a miscarriage prior to meeting Brother Chu. At a point, the drama started.
Now I just feel fucking horrible for Angie. Well, I don't know what this family's doing to her. I understand that, like, she came out first and started talking about all this shit, but, like, what the fuck? They leaked her sex tape. They're leaking her miscarriage. This is horrific. Why would you ever leak someone's miscarriage? There's like no situation where that'd be like if you beat someone up or if someone commits murder even, there are some situations where it's like, oh, you know what? I kind of understand how you can get to that situation, or you're emotional enough to like hit someone and they end up dying or whatever. It's like, I understand. But when it comes to things like revenge porn or leaking someone's medical history, when it comes to like miscarriages or abortions or anything, that's not like, that's never, I don't think there's any context there where I'm like, oh, yeah, I understand how you got to that point, or you reached a conclusion, or by emotion, like the heat of the moment, you just ended up throwing something like that out there.
Devolve into meaningless drivel. It dragged on for months on end, with the two parties being pretty horrible to each other. Eventually, Brother Chu broke the silence, where he explained the situation from his perspective.
She's always wondering who I'm talking to, whether I have a girlfriend or not, and she's always trying to see what's on my phone. Still acting like controlling, like we're in a freaking relationship, trying to always wonder what the hell I'm doing and who the hell I'm talking to.
He'd known her for around 7 years, and he claims she's always been kind of weird. According to him, she was dating a guy in his 40s despite being only 27 at the time, and he also claims that he was abusive towards her, but clarifies that the abuse was mutual, meaning they both were just acting horrific towards each other. Sometime after this, things devolved even further. For some reason, Angie decided to move to the same motel they were staying at, all but guaranteeing that there would be more drama. Lo and behold, they had another spat. While Angie was arguing with a roommate, Brother Chu pulled a gun.
Yeah, look, I mean, the fact that they keep a gun. All right, I'm going to let that play out because that sounds like a whole can of worms. But the fact that they keep interacting with each other, let alone on stream, I think goes to show that potentially this was a mutually abusive relationship. Like, if this was a relationship where there was one unhinged individual and the other one was, like, reasonable, then they wouldn't be meeting up this often, let alone meeting up on stream.
On them.
From what it looks, it looks as though Brother Chu is undoubtedly the more abusive person in this dynamic, but it also seems as though these are two very inexperienced, toxic, deranged people who are building off of each other's toxicity to an extent. Especially what we're about to hear, though, with Brother Chu pulling a fucking gun out, though. Definitely seems as though he's the aggressor here. Like, what the fuck?
He then must have left.
Sorry, one sec. I don't know what this, okay.
Attempting to talk to Angie through the door.
I'm trying to talk to you.
Okay, you're over here yelling about gun, dude. I'm not doing it.
No, fine, don't talk to me. Don't fucking talk to me. Let's fight this guy.
No, to be fair, I understand why Angie is on live now. Like, if he has a fucking gun, and he's waving it about, shouting about, and he's, like, abused you before, then I understand why she probably feels safer if she was live streaming. But the fact that they met on live and that they constantly keep meeting and like arguing on live is ridiculous. But like this is like fine, I think. I think I'd feel a lot more comfortable on surely call 911 for, oh, sorry. I know you got this gun in my face, but like, can you give me a second whilst I call 911? Like, what the fuck? Come on now.
Just because you're not getting your pay.
You don't want to fucking talk. You just get that. You don't want to fucking talk. This is not my problem. My situation I should have been in.
Okay, you don't have to come at me like that.
Based on their conversation, he had been waving a gun around, quite possibly at Angie's current boyfriend. But honestly, with how much context we're missing here, it's a little difficult.
Mutual abuse isn't a thing. Someone instigates the abuse first. Yeah, but then what happens if the initial abuse is nowhere near as bad as the subsequent abuse? Like, what happens if you yell at someone and then they fucking like stab you in the shoulder? That seems like mutual abuse to me. I know, I hear a lot of people say mutual abuse doesn't exist, but there's so many situations. Like, what happens if two abusers are in a relationship with each other? What happens then? There's two abusers. There are two people who are abusive, who are abusing each other. I just don't understand how that can, I don't understand how people can say that's a thing that just doesn't exist. Reactive abuse is very much a thing. I'm not talking about reactive abuse, though. I'm talking about mutual abuse. I think it's more accurate to say reactive abuse. In certain situations, reactive abuse, but reactive abuse to me is fucking, reactive abuse is if an abuser is in a relationship with a non-abuser, and the non-abuser is provoked to such an extent to where they start acting unhinged or on the same level as the abuser, like maybe shouting at them or hitting them to like retaliate or something. But in my mind, mutual abuse is if two abusers are in a relationship together, like constantly breaking up and getting back together and violating each other's like protective orders and building off of each other's toxicity constantly. That seems a lot less like reactive abuse and just mutual abuse. Alright, well, I'm not everyone, but like everyone I knew when I grew up, like everyone who's like grown up in a shitty area will know this. If you grew up in the ends or you grew up in the hood, everyone knew couples or married couples or just boyfriends and girlfriends. The police were over every other week because they get called constantly. They knock on the door. They know the family at this point, and they're like, right, can you man just calm the fuck down? We're gonna go back to the station. You're wasting our fucking time. Just sort yourselves out, essentially. Because so many fucking families and relationships are in complete disarray because both people are deranged arseholes. Or mentally ill, just like, sort of poor people who need help. Whenever someone in the relationship says they're in a mutually abusive relationship, I kind of side-eye. No, I completely understand that. Because there are so many, like, usually when people, so whenever people talk about how, if someone's in a relationship and they just broke up, for example, and they talk about how, you know what, I was in this relationship, I just constantly gave and gave and gave and never got anything in return. In my mind, I'm like, no, that's bullshit. 99% of the time when someone says shit like that, it's bullshit. And I also feel as though it's reasonable to think that 80% of the time, if someone says they're in a mutually abusive relationship, they're probably the brunt of the problem and they're the one doing the abuse. So I completely understand that. I think mutual abuse is used as a crutch, as a cop-out for a lot of just piece of shit abusers, but I also don't think it's fair to say that mutual abuse just doesn't exist at all, ever, in any case, no matter the context. You picking up what I'm putting down, or am I still sounding nonsensical here?
To follow. Tophia would defend her brother by saying it was just a BB gun and that he didn't mean to harm anyone. It didn't exactly look good either way, even with that added detail. 2 days later, Brother Chu and Angie ran into each other again, and he threatened to call the cops on her. Of course, since he's a brain-dead idiot, he also doxed the motel address and his room number by saying it out loud, which backfired immediately. Tophia was on a live stream blaming Angie for the address leak. But luckily, Angie left the motel on the same day Tophia and company took the opportunity to barge into the now unoccupied room, where they uncovered that she's quite messy in her own right. The motel room floor and bed were covered in cat shit, which Tophia deliberately pointed out every time she spotted it. She also doxed Angie's room number in the process, although at this point, that didn't really matter. Sometime later in April, Angie fired up a stream close to the motel, and she claimed that her ex-boyfriend had stolen her dog and sold it for $200. That's about all there is to this stream. The rest is just babbling. Now in May, for the first time since the whole drama started, Brother Chu finally came back with some of his own receipts, sharing a conversation between them.
It's like months later now, and they're still on this relationship thing. I don't know if these people think that, like, if they expose that maybe he wasn't as bad in the relationship, people will like them or something. But they're like bona fide lolcows at this point. There's nothing that either of them can do to like develop or foster a good reputation, if that makes sense. People in chat are talking about how lesbian relationships tend to have a lot of mutual abuse, I think. There's one comment I saw sort of implying that. There was also another comment talking about how Amber Heard and Johnny Depp might have had a mutually abusive relationship, which this is another thing I hate, though, is people acting as though, like, they know what Amber Heard and Johnny Depp's relationship was like. I don't know if it was mutually abusive. I don't know if it was reactively abusive. I just have no idea. And nor does anyone other than Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. However, we can absolutely say that both of them are liars, and that Johnny Depp was the Johnny Depp good, Amber Heard bad propaganda. I don't even want to fucking get into it, man. I've talked about it at length on this channel and my other one. So I'm not even going to open that can of worms up. That's the one comment I get whenever I talk about Hassan, and I get like comments, for example, being like, no, you're wrong about this, or you're wrong about that, or you should look into that. I'm like, you know what, fair enough, this is like fine, maybe I should look into this more. It's criticism that I'm willing to take on and listen to. But whenever I get people chat shit about my Johnny Depp Amber Heard takes, and they're like, Johnny Depp's great and you need to do your fucking research, I'm like, I am not fucking listening to you. Like, that's one of the few criticisms or genre of criticism to where I'm like, go fuck yourself, dude. Like you, Johnny Depp is the GOAT. Amber Heard literally falsely accused him. When I read comments like that, I think, you're a fucking... Just say you hate women. Just say you hate women.
Where Angie admitted to being charged with domestic violence. He also exposes her for assaulting other people, including some random guy who ended up beating her up, which Brother Chu also showed. Notably, he claims that she was fired from her teaching job because of being inappropriate with children, but he doesn't provide any proof of that, so the jury's out on whether or not that's even close to reality. This specific...
You can't even suppress your hatred for women for 1 second? You can't do that!
Drama mostly ends here, and honestly, it's hard to root for either party. If you peruse through Tophia's early Facebook days, she comes across as a bit of an animal lover, posting pictures of her dogs that had passed away. They eventually got a pet chihuahua named Hershey, and when Tophia's streaming career kicked off, it was very clear to everyone in the audience that they couldn't take care of her. From the get-go, TikTok was swamped with...
They got a dog. Oh shit, my fucking camera. Sorry, what's happened to my camera? Are we good? Camera? Come on now. All right, give me a sec, y'all. Let me get that fixed. Are we good? We good? Camera? You gonna fucking work or? Hey, we're back.
With Tophia and pretty much the whole family mistreating Hershey, who, being untrained and in constant distress, was openly very aggressive towards the family members. But
yeah, I can't believe they got a dog. Is this after they got evicted as well and like had to do the GoFundMe? That's fucking horrific, dude.
But to Tophia especially, she constantly barked and growled in her presence, to which Tophia never really had much to say. Back when they still rented an apartment, she couldn't even be bothered to take her dog outside to piss, instead just laying out a bunch of pee.
Yeah, this is why I couldn't make a video on this, man. It's just fucking horrific. It's just so sad. Like, these people just make the worst decisions constantly.
Pads, which were just layered over each other in the apartment. When fans called her out on it, she never really responded. Not that she really cared if the dog peed on the carpet, as the worst she'd do is get annoyed and not even clean it up. But worst of all, she was also physically abusive towards the animal. Of course, this is Tophia, and any attempts from her fans to make her fix her behavior fell on deaf ears. After the family was evicted, Hershey moved in with them, and most of the dog abuse clips hovering around the internet came from their stay at the motel. But Tophia really believed that she was a good pet owner, so she decided to foster another animal, this time a cat.
Fuck! Come on, dude!
This is despite the fact that she had no means of taking care of it, as she had to feed the cat dog food, which is very unhealthy for cats. At one point, the poor creature was so starved of nutrients that it jumped up on Tophia's table to steal her bacon.
No, you're not gonna
Get her now.
my bacon. She's gonna attack you if you take it away. That's what she does. she's holding the bacon.
When the cat wasn't busy starving to death, it was
This poor fucking cat, dude.
constantly agitated, attacking Tophia whenever she tried to get close. In her infinite wisdom, Tophia blamed the aggression on the fact that the cat had recently been neutered. Keep in mind, Tophia had zero issues throwing the cat around without a care in the world. People began reporting her to Albuquerque Animal Welfare for her very obvious animal abuse, asking how the agency could...
Yeah, I mean, this is fair enough. But then also, what are her parents doing letting her get a fucking cat and a dog? What are they doing? Surely they should know. They should know this isn't fucking acceptable behavior and that it's not going to go well for her.
to permit Tophia to foster an animal in the...
Then again, she is 30 fucking years old.
first place. The animal welfare social media account had something very interesting to say. Apparently, Tophia had never actually been entered into the foster program, meaning her claim of fostering the cat was false. It's not clear whether Tophia found out about this or not, but just a few days later, she reported that
okay, that's good. That's really good, actually. That's really good news. I'm happy to hear that.
cat had been rehomed. And that left Hershey, who somehow held out in that house of horrors until now. Sometime in February of 2024, Tophia came online with some devastating news. Hershey was missing. She claimed a couple was walking by their motel room with a big black...
Honestly, maybe honestly, possibly the best case scenario. Someone finds, did the dog die? People are saying rest in peace. I said best case scenario because maybe someone might find it and like any other family would probably be a better choice for the dog. Did the dog die?
Black dog. The motel room door was cracked open. Suddenly, the couple lost control of the animal, which sprinted towards the door and busted through. Hershey then apparently...
Of course it did, by the way. Of course it did.
Apparently tore herself free from her leash and ran away. In tears, Tophia announced that she was gone. But there are some issues with this story. For one, she left the door cracked open despite claiming in the same video that wolves were in the area. This is a shady motel establishment, where leaving your door unlocked is an open invitation to get robbed or trafficked. She also chose not to put up flyers indicating that the dog was missing and asking for anyone who had seen the dog to let her know.
Okay, so I'm guessing the implication here is that the dog just died and she's given it the all... oh, it ran away type thing.
She did nothing to try and find Hershey for one entire week. The stream where she broke the news happened over a week after Hershey went missing, and up until then, the only people looking for the dog were animal control. Worst of all, perhaps, is that she supposedly didn't even chase after Hershey until she had put on more clothes.
I didn't have anything on because I had, well, I did, but I mean my pajama shirt, whatever I had. And so I had to hurry up rushing to get dressed to go chase after my dog that ran.
The whole story left a sour taste in people's mouths. The Tophiachu TikTok subreddit distrusted her version of the story, scorning her for complete disinterest in finding the dog. Even after revealing the sad news, she did nothing to try and find Hershey at all. In fact, she completely stopped talking about the topic across all of her social media. When another person made a post asking for people to help find Hershey, Tophia sent people to report their account, claiming she was pretending to be the owner. In the same breath, she made posts like this about how losing a pet can be as painful as losing another loved one.
I don't know, man. I don't even know if like the dog dying is necessarily even the worst case scenario here. If the alternative was spending the rest of its life with Tophia's family, if that makes sense. Like I remember I had a childhood dog and he was great. His name was Mario. And he had cancer. He had like gum cancer, but his gum had swollen to such an extent where like he couldn't eat properly. So it would be like a struggle for him every time. And we just like, it was so sad watching him like try to live his life normally. It was fucking horrific though, because it was huge. Like it was just huge, but honestly, it was about that big. So in my mind, it was like when he died, that was like happy. That was a good thing. That it was a lot happier watching him die than watching him suffer. Whilst he was alive, if that makes sense. So he was a Yorkshire Terrier as well. If I ever get a dog now, I want a big one though. I want 2 cats and I want a big dog. That's my ideal setup.
Somehow, it gets worse. Sometime after Hershey went missing, Tophia's family somehow got a new dog, a pit bull puppy, which she had...
Are you fucking taking the piss, dude? You gotta be taking the piss, dude.
Admitted to in some person's DMs on the 26th of February. That was 2 days before she actually announced Hershey was missing. Mind you, she didn't actually say that they were adopting it, merely said they were taking care of it until the owner would take the dog back or something. But here's where things get really weird. About 2 weeks after she originally broke the story, she posted about it on Facebook, but the details were inconsistent. This time, she said that her mother was outside with Hershey to use the restroom. There was no mention of the door being cracked open prior, and she said she had to open it to let Hershey in. While some of these inconsistencies could maybe be chalked up to a bad memory, it also created other issues. With the extra detail, the story just made less sense in general. Tophia was the one at the door, and she had enough time to let both Hershey and her mother in. Considering that Hershey is a dog, she would have entered the doorway faster than Tophiachu. So if the black dog was chasing Hershey, they should have no trouble outrunning Marie, who's elderly and in poor physical health. The black dog also supposedly threw Marie down, even though Tophia was the first person the pit bull...
So I got close to the door. The dog busted the door open through my mum to the floor, and my mum was struggling to get up. The dog over the bed, and I had bent down to pick up my dog, and the dog is still trying to chase.
Would have to run through if Marie was already inside. And so with all of these inconsistencies, people on Reddit questioned if the story was even slightly real. People had been searching for Hershey for weeks, but as false positives started piling up, the prevailing belief was that Tophia had likely done something to the dog, and that she wasn't willing to admit to whatever it was. Whether that's true or not, we may never know. She doesn't talk about Hershey very much anymore. Sadly, it's likely that she's been dead for a while, especially if her claims of wolves being in the area are true.
Yeah, again though, I honestly don't even think that honestly could have been, if the alternative is living the rest of his life with Tophia's family, I honestly think that the dog dying is, as fucked up as it is to say, probably a good thing.
For the pit bull, they definitely had the dog in May, but I haven't seen any proof that they still have it. In the end, she had other concerns, like hentai. Around August, she was caught liking hentai.
Chat, do you think like I'm being unhinged when I say that? Obviously, best case was that it gets rehomed to like a better family. But if the only two options are either death or spending the rest of your life with Tophia's family, then I think death is the better option. For a dog, obviously. If we're talking about like because, like, would you rather have the dog, like, on stream constantly being fucking abused and just constantly fucking miserable, not eating properly? Like, do you hear that cat? Do you hear how miserable that fucking cat was? Like, if that cat lives the rest of his life with Tophia, it's like, it's not even worth living for the cat at that point. It just isn't.
Again, except it got a little bit weirder than last time. While most of it was gay stuff, as you'd expect, she also enjoyed some weirder stuff, including a graphic story about a 17-year-old student getting it on with a lawyer. On that note, however, she also got involved in something much worse.
Okay, sorry, I'm listening to this. I missed up the hentai shit.
Got a little bit weirder than last time. While most of it...
So what, she liked hentai?
It was gay stuff, as you'd expect. She also enjoyed some weirder stuff, including a graphic story about a 17-year-old student
I was gonna say, there's gonna be some lolly shit. Is it gonna be like Tophia loves lolly?
Getting it on with a lawyer. On that note, however, she also got involved in something much worse. The details of this story are quite vague. From what I could figure out, Tophia said that she was in possession of some potential CSAM material, which she said was also evidence of some other random guy, whom she did not name, being irresponsible with kids.
I was there when she said to look up CP. I know she's not talking about... Like, I know I have CP, but...
This backfired on her massively, and she came on stream the next day and explained that the PDF file was actually from a Discord server, which she had already reported to the police. She speaks about it on multiple occasions, but I genuinely have no clue what the hell she's saying. In response to an
I'm struggling to understand what the fuck is actually going on here, to be like, fuck's sake, what is wrong with my camera? All right, we're back. Yeah, I'm struggling to understand what the fuck is actually going on here. So, she says she has CSAM. Are we talking, like, is it hentai? Is it, like, a fib situation where it's a 17-year-old Naruto character? Is it actual CSAM that was sent over Discord? Because that is a huge problem. It's part of the reason why I don't have a Discord, because there's a possibility that it just gets overrun with trolls who want to, like, send CP into it and shit. I've heard a lot of situations where that happens.
Instagram rant, some Redditors were able to figure out that she may have been trying to say that she has a screenshot of someone else saying that they possess CSAM material.
That kind of sounds like what she said, yeah.
Honestly, though, it's incredibly hard to say, and the way she felt the need to say that she's totally not a PDF file herself made a lot of people suspect that something was going on.
So, I don't know why you're talking about me being a predator. I didn't say I was hesitant. I just literally said, I've literally provided proof.
Okay, so this is something, one of the reasons why neurodivergent people, ADHD and autism, are overrepresented in prison isn't because they're more likely to commit crimes. It's because they are worse at explaining themselves when being interrogated. Obviously, this isn't the only reason, but this is one variant of a multivariate equation as to why they are overrepresented in prisons. When they are being when you're being interrogated by police officers, there's a set script, there's like a way that people act. When you're autistic or neurodivergent, obviously a lot of the time your reactions don't fit within the boundaries of standard or acceptable social norms or status quo. So a lot of the time, autistic people might admit things that they haven't done, or they might succumb to certain pressures easier than other people, or they might explain themselves in an overrepresentative or suspicious manner. And it feels like that is kind of, you could see this with Fibs, by the way. You could see this so much with Fibs, because Fibs would constantly apologize for defending someone with CSAM, not even understanding that a 17-year-old anime character doesn't fucking count as CSAM. But despite that, Fibs still described it as CSAM and would like genuinely apologize, thinking that she genuinely defended someone who watched CSAM religiously. And that's the kind of autistic explanation and inability to explain yourself that like gets a lot of people in trouble. In a situation like this, I struggle to believe that if Tophia genuinely was getting off to CP or like had CSAM in her possession, that she would like brag about it online or speak so openly about it. I feel as though it's only something she would speak about openly if it was something that she wasn't actively engaging in, if that makes sense. So yeah, I really don't know. But it seems like Turkey Tom doesn't even know. This is just a strange situation, it seems, that, yeah, I guess who knows.
And this issue was closed without much of a good resolution. The Tophiachu TikTok subreddit, one of the largest anti-Tophia communities, closed the issue and urged people to come up with actual proof if there was.
What legal guidelines are you going for that 17 doesn't count as CSAM? The fact that they're fucking animated, dude. Like, what separates an animated 17-year-old from an animated 18-year-old? It's like, oh no, that chin doesn't look like an 18-year-old's chin. Like, what are we doing here? Like, in the Fib situation, it was a 17-year-old lewd picture of Naruto, who was 17 years old at the time. It's like, if you want to call that CSAM, go ahead, but I think you're fucking unhinged.
Any. Tophia wasn't impacted too badly by this, but
if it's like a drawing of like an actual obvious fucking child, then calling that simulated CSAM or simulated CP is totally fine, obviously. But if it's an animated 17-year-old, if it's an animated picture of Naruto who happens to be 17-year-old canonically, then calling that CSAM is ridiculous in my opinion.
At the same time, she also had much bigger concerns. She claimed that her family was so broke that they could no longer afford.
If it's fictional, it's not illegal. It's weird, but not illegal. In some countries, that's true, but in some, it's not. So Lolly, for example, there are certain depictions of erotic Lolly in the UK that would get you arrested. Like, it's not legal. The simulated CP, a lot of it is not legal here. I think the same goes for AI as well. Like AI or like AI CP or AI CSAM as well.
To eat.
But for sure, it is a complicated issue, and there's a lot of connotations to either banning or restricting or keeping it. Like, it is complicated for sure.
Mama Chu was quick to dispel this claim, saying that they were eating just fine.
I still find it weird, personally, sorry. Why are you apologizing? It's like so obviously fucking weird. When I say it's complicated, I don't mean it's complicated morally. I mean it's complicated legally. Obviously, simulated CP and simulated CSAM is objectively fucking weird, and it's bad. I'm just saying, making a case for how restrictive we should be or how illegal it should be, that's when things get complicated, because it's not a real child.
I buy stuff for lunches. We can only buy for our dinner. Meat that we don't have.
And sometimes, yeah, we can't afford to buy stuff for lunches. But I make whatever's in there for lunch. I do.
She can eat lunch because she can't. We all can't eat lunch. There's not enough for
I make. Don't continue.
I am going to continue. Because you eat that, then you don't have dinner.
Well, okay, well, then you know what? I won't defend you then.
Well, then don't. I'm not going to have you come
That's what I was doing.
No, you wasn't.
I just did.
Making it worse. The point wasn't about having lunches or not. You're telling me that I'm not grateful for what the
Thank you for the $5, Jayla Fly, my first live from Rhode Island, USA. Thank you so much.
food that I have. Now you're being stupid.
She's not lying. My daughter's not lying.
This led to Tophia having a meltdown live on the air, arguing with her mother that she was making everything worse by telling the truth. Since lying about food didn't work, she went for other money-making avenues. She leaned heavier into creating merch with some very elaborate collages of copyrighted material that basically looked like a third grader made them. And of course, she also continued to stream like there was no tomorrow.
Unironically better than a lot of YouTuber merch, by the way. That shirt right there.
She started leaning into Let's Plays, which led to her playing Sims 4 on her Xbox. In October, during one such stream, she told two Sims to do the deed, which they happened to do in front of a baby in a crib. Some of her more virulent trolls took this moment to report it to TikTok staff, claiming that it was breaking the terms of service. Since TikTok moderation is run by a bunch of gibbons with typewriters, they actually fell for it, and she was officially banned from streaming on her main account.
You're fucking kidding me.
Claiming that it was breaking the terms of service. Since TikTok moderation is run by a bunch of gibbons with typewriters, they actually fell for it, and she was officially banned from streaming on her main account. But Tophiachu is nothing if not persistent, so she vowed to move her streaming operation over to Twitch. But she didn't actually move it over to Twitch. Instead, she just started streaming on her second TikTok account. So much for the great migration.
Dumb and idiotic is to say that Sims having woo-ha in front of a child is abuse. What the hell? It's
woo-ha. I don't even play The Sims. It's woohoo. I should play The Sims on stream. That'd be a fun stream, wouldn't it?
Literally saying I abused a child. How did I abuse a child when I'm gaming?
But the TikTok ban was just the start of the craziness. Do you remember how I mentioned that Tophia's actual biological relation to Tophiachu was in question? Well, while she was live streaming, her mother would occasionally talk about the past. One time, she reportedly mentioned the date she had met Donald, which, according to her, was in 1994. But there was a problem. Tophia was born in July 1994, meaning that she probably had to be conceived in 1993, and her dad is in fact probably not her dad. Marie must have realized the mistake she made, taking to Twitter where she explained that she had met Tophiachu in 1994 and Tophia was born in 1995. But this is easy to prove false, so I have no idea what she was even trying to achieve with that. Speaking of her father, he had returned to social media after a long hiatus, going by the name Martrania Satorium on TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn. He hasn't posted very much on YouTube, but on TikTok, he quickly got to work. I think these may be thirst traps, but you never really know with this family. Twitter is where he really went crazy, making over 900 posts between September 28th and October 19th. It was
what the fuck?
Pretty much exactly what you'd expect from him. Schizo posting, pictures of himself naked, weird financial stuff, politics, and just for variety, pictures of scantily clad women. It's like he was using his Twitter as his personal archive of every picture he wanted to save.
That's absolutely what he's doing.
Rather than
absolutely what he's doing.
What it actually is, which is a public platform. He also started popping up in the chat of Tophia's lives. At first, she claimed it wasn't actually her father, only to walk that back and say that she had never claimed such a thing, and it was, in fact, her father. This had some unintended consequences. One of the slew of pictures Tophiachu posted was a meme of Tophia with Hershey, with a caption saying, "We just finished watching Asian teen videos together." This became...
Imagine that being your fucking dad.
One of his most reposted tweets. With this activity, a lot of people started to message him in the DMs. One, claiming to be a Russian girl named Melania, had a very amusing exchange with him.
Oh, these guys are fucking weirdos as well, though. Like, what are you doing playing up to this shit and, like, trying to provoke him and, like, play a part in this whole fucking mentally ill, like, charade? Like a fucking pantomime. Whoever's doing this shit is weirders, man.
Where he went on a rant about how beautiful she was and how he would do everything in his power to make her his wife and business partner. He also said that he had been abandoned by his family and was all on his lonesome. For context,
Okay, one sec.
Tophiachu hadn't been living with them for many months at this point, even though his SSI checks helped pay for the motel room. This really angered Tophia, who went on an...
Sorry, one moment.
Instagram Live to complain about it. She denied the accusations that she had abandoned her father, saying that they were trying their best to get him help through veteran affairs.
We didn't abandon my father. We're trying to get him help with the VA, and they're not helping us. I'm tired of people messaging me, asking me, why did I abandon my father? Why is he in a message saying that he's looking for a wife? He's not in his right mind, and you guys keep pushing him to say stuff, and I'm tired of...
Yo, she's right here, though. Like, Tophiachu is actually bang on here. Like, she's absolutely fucking correct. Everyone who's like making fun of Tophiachu and calling her a piece of shit, like you don't have you can't say shit like that if you're trying to rage bait and message her dad or donate to her ironically or any of that shit. Like Tophia's bang on here.
For reaching out to a mentally ill man for views and for money.
She's right. She's so correct. She's so fucking correct.
My family is not views and money. This is a real life situation that I have to go through.
She spent most of her life ragging on people for quote-unquote taking advantage of her dad by making him say things. She even claimed that no one should be able to message him at all because he had his messages turned off. Her proof was that neither she nor her mother could message him. But I think a much easier explanation would be that her own father blocked her and his wife on Twitter so that he could message random people on the internet. Things got very complicated in the next few days. Tophia's mom started messaging people claiming that her husband had gone missing. At this time, he was still posting on Twitter, but they weren't able to contact him, and he wasn't at the homeless shelter he'd been staying at. While the family was trying to find him, Tophia was busy doing what she always does, constantly streaming. And if she wasn't streaming herself, she was invading her trolls' live streams to spread toxicity in chat, really saying nothing of substance in the process. When a girl roasted her, she made a video firing back where she bragged about how she was getting all of these brand deals that she got all on her own, while claiming that the brand deals of the person who had roasted her were gotten through OnlyFans.
She didn't get those brand deals, and she's liking comments acting as if she got brand deals. And if I was her fans, I would unfollow her because you guys helped her to get those brand deals, and she's acting as if she got them by herself, that she didn't need you guys, that she didn't need your help to get her those brand deals.
But she still wasn't done. She released another video specifically calling out a troll account for trying to expose her for, among other things, supposedly defending Leslie Clark for being a PDF file. How she has this much time to bother with this bull.
Who's Leslie Clark? Thank you very much, Skeepers, for the membership. Leslie Clark. That rings a bell, but I don't know if I'm just conflating it with Leslie Gore, who is a fucking lesbian icon, by the way. I love Leslie Gore. She's top 3 lesbians. Leslie Clark. There's a Chaz Kirschman video on.
Today we're going to be talking
with 1 million views. Fucking hell, Chaz. Good for you. Get up there, my boy. Yeah, I've never heard of this girl before.
Bullshit is beyond me, but I guess she is unemployed. This newfound confidence wouldn't last too long, however. Do you remember those brand deals that she bragged about? Well, they couldn't have paid her that much, because in late October, she complained about how TikTok wasn't paying out her funds.
How many of you man know Bull? How many Leslie Gore fans we got in the chat? You man know who we're talking about here? How many know Bull? If you're a lesbian in chat and you don't know Leslie Gore, get on that shit, man. That should be like part of the initiation. I feel like I have more right to call myself a lesbian if you don't know who they are.
She then started begging people to send her $120. Unsurprisingly, people criticized her for this move, especially since she still insisted that she was making loads of money and didn't need a real job. So she deleted the original post and took to TikTok, where she then stated that she hadn't received any of the $120 from her audience, so it was not a big deal.
I asked for 120, but I said we got it because nobody sent anything to me. It ended up getting worked out anyways. We got it worked out.
She claimed the reason that she deleted the post, however, is because they had worked out the money situation. But who really believes that? It seems more like she deleted it due to the TikTok backlash. Amusingly, she accuses people who criticize her of not brushing their teeth in the morning. And as we all know, she's not exactly an expert on proper hygiene. She then went on another live stream saying that she still needed the $120. She even claimed she was looking for work from home jobs again, which could have meant that the money situation was actually dire. Of course, still not dire enough to get her to work at McDonald's. She implicitly admits that they can't pay their rent anymore, but when trying to answer why she won't become a normal person with a normal job, she says she's just trying her best with the time she has. She's not very specific. I don't really know what that means, but she does say that they only have a few days left to get some money. It seems like some people in the audience eventually took pity on her and sent her $300. But then when she tried to withdraw it, she was told she had to wait until Wednesday. She was understandably pissed, trying to contact customer service, although that was no real help at all.
Okay, so it seems like she's being fucked over genuinely a little bit here. Like people going over her dad, people going after her dad, the donation's taking a while to come in. This isn't like her fucking up here. As much as, you know, she is fucking up for sure. This seems as though she's being genuinely sort of fucked over a little bit. Thank you very much for the $5, by the way, Zoya.
In the end, her attempt to get money was unsuccessful, and soon we would find out exactly why she needed it so badly. A few days after this, a girl called Squid, who worked as a housekeeper, claimed that they had to evict a TikToker known for live streaming, although she refused to say the actual name. This mysterious TikToker had been evicted because they couldn't pay the rent, which this TikToker claimed was because TikTok wouldn't pay them. This was Tophia, as I'm sure you've caught on. The story quickly went viral as people flocked to her to ask questions about the motel room.
I only ever went in their room once, and that was like the week after they got a clean notice, which means that their room was so disgusting that we almost had to kick them out, and they had to clean it up to not get kicked out. It was still disgusting, and it smelled like ass. I'm pretty sure we had to throw away every single set of sheets that we gave them. They refused to ever let us actually come in and clean, which is part of the reason they got kicked out.
In the same clip, she said that Tophia used to refer to her as her maid for clout. According to her, she and other housekeepers were never allowed in the room, only being allowed to take the family's towels and bring in new ones. Even still, they could still smell the room. In a later video, she clarified the reason that they always had roaches everywhere is because they would never clean up their food, leading to, you know, bugs coming out. As Squid started getting attention, Tophia noticed, and she wasn't happy to learn that people were making fun of her. She responded on a live stream, where she accused Squid of not giving the full story, and even threatened her by saying that she would get her fired from her job if she didn't. She also claimed to have reported Squid to the police. Amusingly, she also makes this little comment.
You're a maid. You're not a worker.
I don't think, Turkey Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe I've not been listening properly, but I don't think Turkey Tom has insulted the Lolcows much for their hygiene here. I think the most he's done is he used the word schizo posting at one point, but for the most part, I think he's been respectful enough in this video. I'm not sure if this is like an accurate representation of what he is usually like, but you know, I think the video's fine. I think it's formatted okay. I feel like I'm learning. Fine.
And you have no right sharing people's business.
There is so much irony in this clip that it feels insulting to even point it out. Regardless, she follows us up by giving her own version of the story, in which she calls the housekeepers her maids again, and then calls them rude and...
Yeah, I was gonna say, he definitely seems a little edgy, Turkey Tom. He's like edgy, but from everything I'm seeing, he doesn't seem like a massive piece of shit by any means. Yeah, maybe respectful isn't the right word, but he's definitely not as bad as most Lolcow YouTubers.
Inhospitable. She explains how they totally intended to pay the rent, and that the reason she didn't pay it is not because TikTok didn't pay.
Real though, maybe I'm a bit biased because he was very, very kind to me during my cancellation.
Her, but instead because
like when I was getting dogpiled by fucking everyone, but he was one of the few YouTubers that was like, I guess on my side.
TikTok didn't pay her.
But the main reason why the rent didn't get paid is because I could have had the money from TikTok to cover whatever my brother couldn't pay until he was able to pay. That was the main issue.
She does note that it's her brother who usually pays the rent and that he couldn't cover it this time around. But then again, that doesn't take anything away from Squid's story. Tophia complains about how they were supposedly given until 6 p.m. for her brother to withdraw the money, but claimed that one of the rude housekeepers tried to force them out earlier than that. This whole story is just her rambling and trying to shift blame in whatever way she can. The worst thing that she exposed Squid for is that she was rude and hates her job, which frankly, if you are Tophiachu's housekeeper, and those are the worst personality traits you have, you're not that bad. Still, Squid kept posting on TikTok, responding to Tophia's threats by not taking them the least bit seriously. She reminded Tophia that she was indeed kicked out of her room because firstly, it smelled absolutely horrible, and secondly, they refused to pay rent. So
Chat, what do we think about Squid? What do we think about this housekeeper coming out and sort of detailing the state of Tophia's house and calling it disgusting and smelling like ass and shit? Do you think she has the right to do that? Or do you think it's a step too far? Do you think it's unprofessional? What do you guys think? I think it'd be one thing to do it if she was... Oh, for fuck's sake, camera. Come on. Come back. There you go. I think it would be one thing if she took a lot of effort to anonymize the people that she was talking about, but I think making it clear that she's referring to Tophiachu when Tophiachu is already in such a vulnerable state, including the whole family, by the way. Like, the whole family's fucked up. They've got a lot of issues. They're very obviously struggling, both mentally, financially, every sense of the word. They're getting bullied horrendously already. They're getting doxxed constantly. I would say not taking the correct precautions and allowing people to figure out who it is unprofessional. Especially if you're a cleaner and your job is to clean places that are dirty. This might start some sort of precedent to where people with dirty houses that are unable to clean maybe because they're neurodivergent or fucking depressed or something feel as though they can't actually go to this girl to help clean their houses, because if they do, they're going to get fucking ridiculed for it. So I don't think this is a good thing to do for someone who cleans for a living.
To divert attention from that was ultimately a waste of time. Admittedly,
because you don't want to feel judged by the people clean. Like, yeah. There are very legitimate reasons why someone might need help to clean their house. So to take the piss and make a whole song and dance about it, I do think is unprofessional.
Though she was milking the situation pretty hard. Due to popular demand, she finally released photos of the hotel room.
What did Turkey Tom say? Did he come to the same conclusion I did the second after?
Trying to divert attention from that was ultimately a waste of time. Admittedly, though, she was milking the situation pretty hard.
It does seem that way. It does seem as though she's taking advantage of Tophiachu's clout, for lack of a better word.
To popular demand, she finally released photos of the hotel room. Just look at this lovely bathtub. I mean, this is just excellent. Later, she even called the police to do a...
You know, it's so funny. It doesn't even... There are definitely girls in this chat who have been invited back to boys' houses after a date and gone to the bathroom and seen something that looks way worse than this. You're fucking kidding me. I couldn't fucking imagine this. Mate, look, imagine this. You're a bloke, or you're a lassie, right? Whatever, let's say you're a person. You've had a date with someone, you've gone for like, you've watched a movie, you go for drinks, you're having a great time, you go back to their place, you're all excited and shit. And then you go to their bathroom to clean up, or to go for a piss or something. And this is what you see. Mate, imagine that. Mate, sorry, I played it without the audio, so we're gonna have a watch again with the audio. Yeah. What's the right word for this? Because ick is not the right word. This is like way more than a fucking ick. What's the word? Can someone help me out here? What's the word for if like you go to someone's house, you've had a great time. It don't matter how good of a time you've had before this moment, by the way. Is my camera gone again? For fuck's sake, dude! What is going on? Okay, we're good. But yeah, what I'm saying is, it don't matter how good of a time you had. It don't matter how much they make you laugh. It don't matter if they were the best fucking shag you've ever had in your life. You go back to their bathroom, it looks like this. There's no coming back from that, like. It's done. You're done. It's over. Like, I'm never seeing you again. If I went back to someone's house and this was it, like, I don't think I couldn't do it. I'd leave. It's like, oh my god, I'd be so scared. I couldn't fucking imagine, dude. And by the way, if my bathroom looked like that, there's no way I'm bringing anyone home. You fucking kidding me?
Lovely bathtub. I mean, this is just excellent. Later, she even called the police to do a welfare check on the family when she saw them sitting on the sidewalk and squatting in their cars, which Tophia took especially personally. So personal, in fact, that she released a 13-part rant on her Instagram. After complaining for a while about how they needed to buy a house because rent was becoming too expensive, she started talking about how they always kept the room very clean due to inspections from a different housekeeper.
And she did random inspections and she told us that our room was clean. We always kept our room clean.
She talks about how many of the appliances were busted and needed fixing, and also said that the whole room was dirty and smelled terrible when they got there.
Mind you, that
I clean before the cleaners get to my house so that it's not too dirty for them to work. When I had cleaners, there was like a period of time where I had cleaners when I was like super busy. And I was with my my girlfriend at the time, and I used to clean the house before they got here to make so that it wasn't too dirty.
door that was damaged, the stove that was dirty was not from us. She's trying to make it seem like the lights were damaged because we damaged it. She tried to act like the door was damaged because we damaged it, and she tried to say that the stove was damaged because of us. It was damaged from whoever stayed there previously. And I know this because when we got into our room, it smelled horrible. We couldn't ask for another room because that was the last room left. That was the last room left. So we didn't get a choice to pick. We didn't damage the lights. That was already damaged. The stove was damaged. The refrigerator was damaged. Luckily, we got our refrigerator working again because they didn't get it working for 2 months.
She also went on to claim that the reason
It's a very good point, Castaway. He keeps saying she's taking it personally, but how could she not take it personally when everyone's attacking her person? Like, yeah, these are personal attacks, so obviously she's going to take it personally.
they hadn't cleaned out the trash.
It's like, why are you getting so defensive? Because you're getting offensive first. Like, you're offending me, obviously I'm going to defend myself. That's what happens when you are met with offense, you defend.
Was because they were too busy packing that day to do anything like that.
I don't know if you put that trash behind there from wherever you found the trash because you guys rushed us to leave, so we didn't have time to clean the room.
However, she conveniently ignores the fact that they lived in that room for many months, and that if
I feel having cleaners is more common in the UK than in the US, where it's seen as more of a luxury, so as random thought. Maybe, and part of that might be because houses in the US are so much bigger. But regardless, I have a lot of members. Like, it's not as though, like, I'm not, sometimes yeah, yeah, I don't know. I don't have cleaners anymore, but there was like a month where I had cleaners over like a week, but it's just not really any point. Like, I'm pretty good at keeping things relatively clean.
If it truly had been so dirty, they could have just cleaned it. She spends a lot of time complaining about Squid, very upset that she had reported them to Child Protective Services. But Squid wasn't done. She took advantage and decided to milk this cow a little bit more. Tophia was so fed up with being bullied that she ended up exposing the actual motel that Squid worked at.
And you did dox me. And now the gloves are off, okay? I was not doxing you. And then you had to go and name the place that I worked twice, okay?
But Squid didn't seem to care that much. To round things off, she released...
Yeah, to be fair, Squid, go fuck yourself, dude. Like, on a real, shut the fuck up, dude. Like, you can't go fucking mental and out everything about this family who are clearly going through horrible shit. And genuinely struggling and take the piss out of their cleaning situation when your job is to clean. I understand maybe it's too fucking filthy for you to clean, that's fine. But you don't need to throw a whole hissy fit about it and milk it for so much money, so much views, and then start complaining when they clap back at you. It's just not on.
One more video where she talks some more about the irreparable damage.
She's a bully. Yeah, she seems like a bully to me.
Done to the motel. According to her, they had to throw away 2 mattresses because they were soaked in piss.
We had to throw away both of the mattresses in your room because they were soaked with piss.
This drama really said a lot about Tophia's childishness, but it didn't really matter what she did. Arguably, being a petty idiot just led to more people tuning in, which she really needed at that moment because her entire family had just become homeless. Except for her father, who had been arrested again on the 31st of October. And this begins the start of Tophia's arc as a nomad. She continued to live stream, and because she kept using the green screen effect, it still looked like she was in her old room.
Look, for the record, I don't think Tophiachu should have doxed her. Like, she shouldn't have, like, obviously that's a bad thing to do. But, like, if you go out to someone in public and there's, like, a couple, and you start calling some random bloke's girlfriend a fucking whore and all that, like, you start, like, actually, like, berating her verbally, yeah, the boyfriend probably shouldn't beat the fucking shit out of you. But at the end of the day, if you get beaten the shit out of, you can't complain. You fuck around, you find out in a situation like that. And if you recount that story to a friend of yours, they're not going to feel any fucking sympathy for you. It's like, well, yeah, maybe they shouldn't have done that, but also fuck you, you know?
Well, it didn't really look like it, but, you know, she thought it did. Since they were all homeless, they ended up visiting a homeless shelter during a Thanksgiving event. When people started asking about it, she at first denied that they were in a homeless shelter at all, but then they confirmed that they were at the Joy Junction Convention Center, which is kind of a roundabout way of saying that they were actually at a homeless shelter. But because she continually tried to hide it and tiptoe around the topic, people were desperate to figure out the truth. But in another strange twist, Tophia seemed to maybe not even realize that she was in a homeless shelter. She referred to it as a convention center, which made a lot of people think that maybe she thought it was the same as, let's say, Comic-Con, meaning it's like a cool event to attend.
Stanky talks about the Chud the Builder stuff to get. No, I haven't. Maybe I can do that next stream. I'll take a note of that. Because I have seen people talking about that.
Even Mamachu fell for the trap, saying that it's definitely not a homeless shelter. Meanwhile, in early December, the footage of Papa Chu's arrest was leaked to the public, and it's probably one of the most insane things that I have ever seen. As crazy as this was, it paled in comparison to Slidell's life on the outside. Since they had no TV, Tophia could no longer do Let's Plays, so her 2 Xboxes were just sat in the car. They had even more Xboxes they were trying to pawn off for parts, but unfortunately, on December 17th, someone broke in and stole their valuables. Tophia would go on Instagram to discuss the topic.
What happened was that literally stuff was thrown out of the car, right out of the Jetta. So I don't know if it was thrown out of the Jetta. I thought people threw it there to make it look like we were littering. We came back, so then I decided to go into the car and check because I noticed the clothes were thrown around. I said, okay, cool, let me go check. My 2 Xboxes were stolen.
Tophia claims that the robbers were caught on video camera, saying she was confident that they would eventually be caught, and warning them that they should turn themselves in. Well, they weren't caught, and they didn't turn themselves in. And on the topic of wasting money, unfortunately, the family still hadn't really learned their lesson from being homeless. They still spent money door dashing food, and when that got a bit too expensive, Tophia started buying Lunchables. At every
I was gonna say, they probably don't know how to cook. They probably don't know how to buy ingredients and cook food properly. One of the best bits of money advice I could give for people, if you're like middle class or upper class, it's not really worthwhile money advice. But if you're someone who's struggling, especially to pay rent or something, or you're working or living paycheck to paycheck, then the best advice I could give you is learn how to fucking cook. And learn how to make the most of leftovers and the ingredients that you buy. And people are already taking the piss because they know I'm going to bring it up. But like, if you really want to be frugal, learn how to cook with beans. Because they are cost effective and they are nutritious as fuck, and you can make a whole diet out of them.
They can't seem to make the right decision. Eventually, Christmas came, and while the family didn't have money for gifts, Tophia decided to give the gift of herself to the world. Even as she was standing out in the cold and literally homeless, she was still flexing on her trolls by talking about how her life is so much better than theirs because she gets to just hang out all day, while other people have to stand on their feet to make a living. This was also at the time when everyone thought that TikTok would be permanent.
Rice goes a long way too, of course it does. So, but here's the thing, rice goes a long way, beans goes a long way. Guess what the most popular dish is in like every culture on the fucking planet? Rice and beans. There's a very good reason for that.
Banned in the United States. So a lot of people questioned how she was even going to make money going forwards.
I have over $1,000 plus in TikTok. Duh, TikTok still has to pay us that. Even if TikTok is getting banned, they have no choice but to pay me that money.
I think it's probably worth mentioning that the average salary in Albuquerque is $30 an hour, which comes up to about $4,800 a month before tax. And she is boasting about $1,000 that probably took her over a month to gather up. But despite the boasts, Tophia knew she couldn't actually just sit on her ass and make money. So she finally stood up and started letting people pay her to do jumping jacks. At this point, a lot was happening in just a matter of days. In early January, Brother Chu was arrested for a traffic violation. Just a few days later, he was exposed by cursed decals on YouTube who showed Brother Chu's Snapchat messages flirting with a 15-year-old girl while he was pretending to be 16. This was later confirmed by matching the phone to the one Brother Chu owns. Remember, this is the same guy who accused his ex of being some kind of chomo. It defies understanding how messed up both Tophia and her brother are, but then again, maybe we shouldn't be that surprised given their parents. In a live stream, Tophia gave us a little bit of an insight to their childhoods that may help piece together the puzzle. Apparently, Papa Chu was intent.
Tuna is not canned tuna is cost effective, yeah, but proper tuna isn't really cost effective at all. I'm sure you mean canned tuna, to be fair. In which case, yeah, you're correct. But beans are more cost effective, especially dried beans. You can get so many, and lentils as well. Although lentils are beans technically, but whatever.
On turning his 2 bundles of joy into millionaires. He tried to get Tophia to be a stock trader while he flip-flopped between making Brother Chu do the same and also encouraging him to lean into IT. He dissuaded Tophia from wanting to open a restaurant because it's an oversaturated market. When the IT career didn't work out, Brother Chu had to become a stock trader and Tophia could do whatever she wanted, but when her brother figured out how to fix the brakes on a car, he had to become a mechanic and Tophia had to get on stocks again. This was all happening around the time when he wasn't taking his bipolar medication, instead replacing it with testosterone pills, which, I mean, maybe he'll get really jacked. It's possible. Honestly, it's pretty hard to feel sorry for them despite that. Similarly, it's kind of hard to hate their goofball of a father who returned to social media shortly after this, showing off his delectable feast. Let's be honest, he probably ate the panties too. But the rest of the family weren't about to let Papa Chu one-up them. In January, Tophia invited Mama Chu to Comic.
I think it's very easy to hate. It is hard to feel. No, it's not hard to feel sorry for them, but it is very easy to hate their father. if you're constantly getting arrested for aggravated assault on people, and you're doing a horrible job parenting your children, and you're making fun of your children for being bullied horrendously online, then it's not necessarily difficult to dislike someone like that.
Con. She somehow scrounged up the money to pay $151 for the tickets and was planning to spend more money to get signatures from people there. When viewers pointed out the fact that she was spending her money pretty irresponsibly, she felt the need to defend herself.
And I'll tell you why Comic-Con is better than living in a home. Because I don't have to have in the back of my mind that I'm going to be evicted because I don't own my house. You know, because the thought hits my head. Like, people are out here to constantly harass me. Why would I want to rent a place, to be asked to leave, to have to shove all our stuff back in storage and not be set in a place? You know what? Comic-Con is actually better because why do I have to sit in a car all day and be miserable? Why do I have to not get out, walk around because I can't be sitting in the car? That's not healthy, right?
As it turns out, inviting her mom was probably a pretty bad idea, since Mamachu couldn't hold her bladder, which Tophia had no issue exposing to the entire world. Perhaps the funniest part of this is that TikTok was on the verge of being banned, meaning she would be cut off from her only source of income within days. She had made an account on Rednote. There, she just got roasted even harder, this time by Chinese people as well. When the day of the ban finally came, she didn't take it too well, posting a very ominous message on her Instagram. "We know who's to really blame for this." She then posted a rant where she complained that TikTok wouldn't be paying her the $180 that they still apparently owed her. Whatever the case, the money couldn't have been that important, as she ended up getting Brother Chu into the Comic-Con venue, even though she originally hadn't bought a ticket for him. But while they were there, it seems like he did have some fun sporting this epic hat. And by the end of the
TikTok ban was really weird, that. I remember that time, because it came back like 2 days later, didn't it? I wonder if there was something going on there. It seemed to me, like, as an outsider, it looked a bit like Trump propaganda. It looked a bit like it was like some sort of pathetic attempt to get children to be a fan of Trump. Because I remember when it got unbanned, there was a big message about like, oh, thank fuck we're back, and it's all thanks to the amazing Donald Trump who unbanned it and all this shit. And it's like, I don't know, man. The chance, like, it just so happened to get banned. Just so, coincidentally, 16 hours before Trump had the opportunity to unban it. Not even 24 hours. Okay, yeah.
Con, they had somehow managed to pay $320. As of today, the family is still homeless. TikTok did come back, so Tophia continues to do daily live streams begging for donations, and the most recent update was that she admitted that she doesn't wash her lady parts because it's apparently self-cleaning and washing it could cause an infection. On one hand, Tophia is a victim.
Side note, I hate when people do shit like that. I'm not saying it makes them a dickhead or anything. It's just something that personally annoys me. Just say vagina, dude. Just say vagina. I remember when I was getting cancelled and shit, I remember Katie even used like, she just for some reason didn't say vagina. She was like, oh, the way that Dan Kishibo talks about women's parts or women's like part is like, just fucking, what's wrong with? I don't understand why we can't use the words. Like, it's not a bad word necessarily. It's not like a lady bits, parts. Just say vagina. Like, all you do when you stigmatize words like that is tell people that they should be like ashamed of their genitalia. It's not fucking hard. Penis and vagina.
Of her circumstances. A child brought up in terrible conditions with an irresponsible mother and a basically schizophrenic father who was never pressured.
They don't want to get demonized. I guess you mean demonetized. You are not going to get fucking demonetized for saying penis or vagina. That's fucking unhinged.
To learn hard work, fiscal responsibility, or even just basic hygiene. On the other hand, she is a 30-year-old woman who always manages to make the worst possible choice and then spits venom at anyone who challenges her. Is there room for pity? Sure, but it's hard to feel bad when her response is nothing but bile, and she continues to worsen her life by posting on TikTok instead of just getting a job. I've been Turkey Tom, thanks for watching, and until next time, leave me alone.
Okay, I think generally that was a pretty good video, actually. I think he did a good job outlining pretty much everything that we need to know about her so far. This was a year ago, though. I think on another stream, we will look at his second video.
In the last few...
The tragic end of TikTok's worst influencer. It's a 90-minute one. Pardon me. We'll have a look at that one after. Not today, of course, but at some point. And then maybe we'll have a look at someone different for the Nova Online stuff. Because I feel like it would be good to learn about him as well. tell you who we will not be watching to learn about Nova Online now. I feel like you already know the answer, but... Um, 2 a.m. now. Probably should end the stream. So combined, we streamed for about 3 hours, but it was about 90 minutes every stream. Yeah, sorry guys. It's just I don't want to take the piss here. Got things to do tomorrow. I've got people coming over. I need to make dinner and shit. I'm quite excited for that. Gonna make some roast chicken, some mashed tatties,